Look, we got the first question. LG. Hey, Chris, how many acres do you have? What is going on? Wow, that was a quick question. All right, let me get my laptop going here so I can actually see what's going on. All right, let's see. You got the questions over here. Welcome to the live stream. All right. So LG says, hey, Chris, how many acres do you have? I actually have 6 acres up here in the mountains of Colorado, pretty much just in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of the woods. There's really, I don't have any grass, any lawn or anything like that. It's just pretty much wild up here in the mountains of Colorado. What is up? See you. Hello, Mad, Abby, Christina. What is going on? Hello, Mad. My arm feels better now. Yeah, I got my COVID vaccine yesterday. My arm, it's weird. My arm sometimes is really super sore where I can't hardly move it, and then it seems like it goes away and then comes back and goes away. It's kind of wild with the whole shot. And I did have one slight reaction to the COVID vaccine. My lips kind of got a little bit numb, a little bit tingly. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually allergic to bee stings. So they had me over on the right side after I got my COVID vaccine. They were like keeping an eye on me, making sure I didn't have a reaction for like 45 minutes. What is going on? Yancey, American Balls and Reptiles. What's up? Justin Lee. All right, when building a rack, do you prefer belly heat or back heat? Does that change with the size of the rack? So pretty much the only thing that I've ever seen as far as what I've used here in my collection, I've always used belly heat. Not really sure. The back heat might work for like a small enclosure, maybe with some hatchlings or something like that. But I would think it'd be kind of hard with back heat to heat a really big snake all the way across the entire snake. So, especially with bigger snakes, I would definitely prefer belly heat. Although I haven't actually seen back heat and exactly how it works. So I may have to actually take a look at that and compare the different side by side. All right, Abby A says, ever coming to Repticon Orlando? That would be pretty awesome. So right now I really don't have anyone to take care of all my animals, so I can't get away for too long. I'd probably have to find someone and kind of get them used to my dogs. That's probably the biggest thing. I don't know if anyone could get in there. My dogs are pretty aggressive. They're outside dogs and they're used to like the bears and the mountain lions and everything like that. So maybe if I could get someone to help me out at some point, maybe I could come to another reptile show in another state, which would be pretty awesome. Manuel, what is going on? Reed Brown, hey Chris, do you prefer Reptibark or paper towels? I can maintain the humidity with both just fine, just wondering. So I actually use like a coconut husk chip. I would probably do like the Reptibark over the paper towel, because the problem with paper towels is the ball pythons or any kind of a snake will go to the bathroom and you're always chasing the pee. It seems like with paper towels, it gets a little bit involved. And though if you actually have something that'll absorb that, you don't have to chase it as much. All right, Hellman says with back heat, you need higher ambient temperatures. Good point there. All right, Joe, how many ball pythons do you have currently and how many bioactive enclosures? So I actually have 43 snakes. 2 of them are reticulated pythons and the rest are ball pythons. So I have 41 ball pythons at the moment, which are all holdbacks and breeders. And here, any day now, I should actually get some eggs. Hopefully, I'll increase that significantly. I'm hoping for about another 100 hatchlings this year. So maybe once I get all my hatchlings and all my snakes, well, usually I sell some before I hatch some others out. So usually I'll have about 100 to about 120, 130, the most I've ever had here in my collection. And as far as bioactive enclosures, I don't have any bioactive. I tried a little bit with adding some springtails to some of my coconut husks, but it just gets too dry here. You really have to keep that really damp to keep a bioactive going. Jennifer, hi from Ontario, Canada. What's up? Let's see. CU says, do you accept Bitcoin as payment for your snakes? So that's a good question. I've never used Bitcoin, and I really don't know a whole lot about Bitcoin. So I probably have to look into that and get back with you on Bitcoin. LG says, what kind of dogs? I actually have 3 dogs now. I have a purebred Saint Bernard, a purebred Rhodesian Ridgeback female, and then I actually bred those 2 together, and I have one that's half and half. It's bigger than the Ridgeback, but not as big as the Saint Bernard. My Saint Bernard male, he is huge. He's probably like 180, maybe even 200 pounds. That's a really big dog. All right, Samantha, how are you feeling since your Chinese virus shot? Yeah, so I got my shot yesterday. It's funny because I scheduled the J&J shot, and I went in expecting the J&J, and then the day before I got the shot, they sent me an email, and they said, we actually changed your shot to the Pfizer shot. And I don't know what's going on if they actually just pulled the J&J, but I know a lot of people had some pretty bad reactions. As a matter of fact, there was one place in Colorado just a few days ago where they had, I think it was like 13 or 14 people that had reactions from the J&J, where they actually don't see it with the other shots. So I showed up and I got the Pfizer shot, and I'm doing pretty good. I'd say at the beginning, I was a little bit woozy, kind of had a little bit of reaction, had a little bit of, my lips got a little numb, which is kind of weird. And then right now, I actually have a pretty bad headache from the shot. They say that's pretty typical to have a headache. And my arm hurts pretty bad. It seems like my arm, sometimes it hurts really super bad to where I can't move, and then it'll completely go away and it won't hardly hurt at all. Now it's almost gone. And then like 2 hours later, my arm hurts again. It's kind of weird, some of the after effects. But I'd say pretty much minor effects after the shot. All right, James just bought 100% het pied female that was paired to a visual pied. Nice. Hoping for eggs any day. That's pretty exciting. All right, let's see. Hager Warrior. With the rack system, what do you set your belly heat temperature to make sure the heat penetrates? So what I actually do is I just set it to 90 degrees, and I actually put the temperature probe right on top of the metal heat panel. And then I've actually measured the back of the tub. It's pretty much the same inside the tub because the tub sits right on that heat panel. And I really don't have any substrate over the hot spot inside of the tub. I pull all the substrate away so they just sit right on top of it. Juan Wilson, hello, fellow hobbyists. What is going on? Hello, Mad. Will a female reach 1,500 grams from 1,000 by October if she stays on food by October? So August, so it is, so it'll be April, May, June, July, August, September, 5, 6, 7 months. That's kind of pushing it. Maybe you can do it if you have a really good eater and it's eaten quite a bit. You might be able to do it. Yancey, big debated question. What substrate is truly the best and most affordable? I've tried Pro Coco, Forest Floor, Cypress, and paper towel. What do you use? I actually use the Pro Coco coconut husk chips, the bigger chunks of the Pro Coco. I haven't used the Forest Floor, haven't used Cypress. I've used paper. The problem with paper is paper can be pretty cheap, but the only problem is if you actually have a really big collection like this, you walk into the snake room and it always smells like pee because there's probably like 5 or 6 snakes that every single day you get 5 or 6 snakes that pee and it just smells really bad. So I found when I was using paper, I was going through all my tubs, every single one of them, looking for the mess and cleaning them up all the time. Where the Pro Coco, like the coconut husk substrate, you don't smell it at all. You won't smell any pee. And I only spot clean maybe every 2 or 3 days as far as going in and spot cleaning it. And then I just pretty much change it out once a month on the Pro Coco. I'd say it's pretty much the easiest as far as the long-term maintenance with the Pro Coco. Meats and Beats, what is up? Brain Powers. Or no, Brian. Oh, sorry. Brian Powers. I got your name all mixed up. All right, Brian Powers. Hello from the swamps of Louisiana. What is going on? Let's see. Dakota. Hello from North Dakota. What was the very first clutch of eggs you had, and did they all hatch? So the very first year, I think I had like 8 or 9 clutches. I can look up the, as a matter of fact, I might have it right here. My very first clutch ever. So when I first started breeding ball pythons, I was having a problem with the incubation boxes. I couldn't, I didn't have a good setup on my incubation boxes, and a lot of them actually dried out. So let's see, my very first one. Actually, all of them did hatch on my very first clutch. I bred a Coral Glow 100% het pied to a pastel pinstripe female and got 10 eggs. That was my very first clutch ever, which is kind of wild looking back at my records. Let's see. How many puppies did she have? Yeah, so when I actually had puppies, my dog had, I actually bred her twice. I think one year she had 6 puppies, and the next year she had 7 puppies. And I was kind of nervous because the female is pretty small, and the male, being a Saint Bernard, I can tell you, those were really huge puppies coming out of that female. I brought her to the vet so many times. I was really worried about it, and it actually turned out okay. Let's see. Drink lots of water. Yeah, that's what I need to do for my vaccine shot. All right, Molina's Formula. What's up, Chris? Another question. What temperature do you keep the room, and what temperatures do you keep your tubs? So here in my reptile room, I keep my room anywhere usually between 77 is pretty much the lowest, all the way up to about 82. And it seems like in the summer, it'll get a little bit higher, like 80 or 82. And then in the winter, sometimes it'll dip down to 77. And then as far as my tubs, I pretty much set the hot spot to 90 degrees year round. And I don't really change the temperatures as far as the room temperature or the hot spots, but it does seem to change a little bit based on the season. All right, perfectly engineered reptiles. When you go to a show, will you bring Bobby? It depends on the show. I actually just brought Bobby to one show. I've only ever brought him to one show, and it was a local show. So maybe I would bring Bobby to one of my shows. This next show coming up, as a matter of fact, in about 5 weeks, I'm going to a reptile show down in Pueblo, Colorado. But the only problem is it's a 3-hour trip, and I'm riding my motorcycle. So I don't really want to bring Bobby on the motorcycle to the reptile show. So I definitely won't be bringing Bobby to that one. Let's see. How can I make my snake grow faster? So yeah, the snake actually grows faster the more food you feed it. So if you actually increase the frequency of the feeding or the size of the rodents, you'll significantly increase the growth rate of the snake. And I actually saw someone did a video. It was kind of interesting. They actually took 2 different snakes that were hatchlings from the same clutch. And they took one and they fed it big rodents. And then they took the other one and fed it multiple smaller rodents with the equivalent weight of rodents. And it was amazing. The one that was eating the bigger rodents actually grew bigger faster, which I thought was pretty interesting. So it seems like if you can feed your snake bigger rodents, it'll actually grow faster, which I'm not sure how scientific that test was as far as, actually reproducing it. But I thought it was an interesting experiment, and the results were pretty interesting too. All right, Cruise R. How long do females stay at the glow phase before laying eggs? So I have noticed some of my females in the glow stage. I think they only stay there for just a few days when they really start getting a lot brighter before they lay eggs. All right, Kyle, I've been out of the hobby for about 15 years and about to get back into it. Thanks for the info. Sure, no problem. I don't know what Bobby's doing. He's looking around. All right, Wasteland Relaxer. I found my escaped snake. Congratulations. She was in the wall. I had to cut the wall open. Wow, that's crazy. I don't know how you did that. Cut the wall open. Let's see. Power feeding is a way. Yeah, it cuts down their life a lot. So yeah, so it depends on what your definition of power feeding is. Some people say you can feed more frequently. As a matter of fact, with my hatchlings, I tend to feed anywhere from 2 to 3 rodents a week with my hatchlings, and they grow super fast. Some people just feed them once a week and they'll grow really slow. So it really depends on the size of the snake. And I'd say if you have like a really young snake, a lot of times the metabolism is a lot faster and you can actually grow them a lot faster as a hatchling. But usually once they get to like the size of Bobby here around my neck, you really don't want to power feed like this because it'll just really get super obese. It really won't go to the body weight. They'll just get really super fat. All right, D-Row, man, you got me started. Pick up a visual pied male, banana het pied female, and a firefly het pied het clown. Wow, those are some pretty powerful breeders there. All right, Brian Powers recently picked up 8 wild-caught imports. Awesome. If feeding ASF, they should take to feeding fairly easily, correct? I've heard imports are troublesome. So kind of the interesting thing about the African imports, I think most of what they do is they actually catch a snake in the wild, and then they wait for that female to lay eggs, and then they'll artificially incubate those eggs and then hatch them out. So I don't think they actually catch a lot of snakes in the wild, you know, as far as just taking them from the wild. I think they actually take the eggs and artificially hatch them. And it's a lot of times you'll actually get what they call captive hatch. You might want to check into that. So I would say if you actually have like a captive hatch, you probably won't have any problems. But I have heard if you just catch snakes in the wild and you try to domesticate them, sometimes it can be hard to get them to eat. All right, let's see. All right, Justin Lee, would using paper hinder the shed process, not having anything rough to rub on? So I'm not exactly sure about that because I've always had the cup holders in the middle, and it seemed like that was enough to rub the shed. I would think they could rub on the side of the enclosure as far as rubbing the shed off. I wouldn't think they'd have any problems with that. Axel says, is it okay to change the coconut fiber each 3 to 4 months? So I have gone more than a month. Usually after about a month, it starts smelling pretty musty. Sometimes you get a little bit of mold growing on it after about a month. I have done actually 2 or 3 months, and that's usually my females. Like right now, I don't really change my females that much because they're all just sitting there. They're not eating, they're not going to the bathroom, and we're just waiting for eggs to drop. So it doesn't really matter for the females. Although I have found when you change your coconut husk substrate, it seems like it stimulates the feeding response on a lot of your ball pythons. So if you have a female that lays eggs, what I would do is I would go in there and immediately maybe give that snake a bath and change the coconut husk and try to get that female back on food. Or if you have some picky feeders, you may try changing the substrate. A lot of times that'll get them back on food. All right, Jennifer, what incubation process do you use now since your first didn't work? So I actually use press and seal on top of my egg boxes without any ventilation in them at all. And I tried a whole bunch of stuff. I was like putting holes in the sides. I was trying to humidify my incubator instead of doing just water in the incubation box. And what I'll actually do now is I'll actually mix a 50-50 mix of vermiculite and water by weight. So I'll weigh out 150 grams of vermiculite, put in 150 grams of water, mix it up really good, and then I'll put like a sealing grate, like the egg crate on top of that, and then put the eggs in, and then I'll seal it up with press and seal. No holes and no ventilation. And that's been working great. And at first, it seemed like I had a lot of holes and the eggs would dry out. Sometimes if they get too dry, they'll completely collapse. And that was the problem when I first started out. I don't know what Bobby's doing right in my face. What are you doing, Snake? All right, ball Terry. All right, Bobby, come on. You want some camera time too? All right. All right, all right, all right. Voltarium, one of the best educators on ball pythons. Can't wait to go live and show how much you have taught us. Nice. All right. Colton, I'm concerned of your health. I'm skeptical of the vaccines until they work all the kinks out. Though I'll be at you're older than my so it is kind of rough that they actually rushed the vaccines, and I'm actually glad they pulled the J&J from actually. I was thinking about getting the J&J, and I'm glad I got the Pfizer. And it seems like the Pfizer is one of it seems like now's the best time because we've kind of looked at all the different vaccines on the market. It seems like the Pfizer and the Moderna are both pretty much the two best that I've actually seen. So yes, there is still definitely some risk trying to rush it for the pandemic. All right, let's see. What do you do for ball python with a respiratory infection? So for respiratory infection, you should probably bring it to a veterinarian, and they'll actually give you antibiotic shots in syringes that you can give to the snake. All right, hello man. FedEx drop kicked the box. My snake came in. The entire foam insulation on the bottom was completely caved in. What would you do? The snake seems to attach the trauma to me and is very untrusting. Yeah, so if you have a snake that comes in, so if I actually ship the snake, I would definitely ship it from a FedEx ship center to a FedEx ship center instead of shipping directly to your house. I've actually shipped to my house before, and they really messed up the boxes and made the snakes really angry. As a matter of fact, I had one snake that came in that was super beat up, and I was like, all right, I'm never going to ship a snake directly to my house. I'm just going to have it shipped directly to the FedEx ship center. And then if a lot of times I'll actually say, if you get a brand new snake, you can handle it right away. That's kind of my perspective on getting a brand new snake, except if you get a snake like this that got really beat up in the mail. What I would actually do is I would take that snake, put it in a dark enclosure, and not touch that snake probably for about 2 weeks until you actually touch it. So yeah, you definitely don't want a snake going through a trauma like that to associate it with you. Sometimes it can be pretty difficult to snap them out of it. I had one, it was an Australian Bumba Python, and it was the same way. And that thing was super mean for like 6 months. It would like try to bite me every time. It was crazy. And I finally got it to tame down. It just took a lot of handling, and it ended up being one of my nicest snakes. It just took a really long time. And kind of the interesting thing about that is after I tamed it down, it seemed like the snake finally trusted me, but I didn't trust the snake, especially near my head, since it was so aggressive for so long. So that's another thing that's kind of unfortunate when you have a snake that goes through the trauma. All right, Colton says, smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, if you want more snake content, yeah, you can definitely subscribe. All right, Hector, I have a jigsaw female and a banana enchi male. That's what I am breeding this year. Hopefully you get eggs. Nice. That's awesome. Jonathan, hi, Chris. Waiting on my first clutch. Pre-lay shed was March 29th. She looks kind of skinny, though. Could there be any reason why? So, yeah, March 29th. So, when was that? That was like 2 weeks ago. So it could be that you just have a really big snake that may have some smaller eggs. Sometimes that'll happen. I've actually had some snakes that I didn't think were going to lay because they didn't look that big, and they ended up laying. I've actually had some where they're full of slugs instead of eggs. If you don't pair up your males and females enough time throughout the year, sometimes you can get a lot of slugs, and sometimes that can kind of trick you. I had one that I thought for sure it wasn't going to lay. I had one good egg, and the rest of them were all slugs, which is pretty unfortunate. And sometimes it just really depends on the snake. I'd say most of the times they get really big and fat, but sometimes they can kind of trick you with the smaller eggs in there. So yeah, so if you have, so that's like 2 weeks ago, you have like maybe 2 more weeks before you get eggs for that. The other option is maybe you didn't have a pre-lay shed. Sometimes they can trick you on that. Maybe it's just not time yet. Maybe they'll shed a couple more times and it'll be a couple months down the road. All right, let's see. Jonathan. Hi, Chris. Still waiting on my first clutch. Yeah, we just read that one. All right. 55 watching, 7 likes. All right. Actually, we have 87 watching, 89 watching, and 22 likes now, which is pretty awesome. All right, Chris. Hello from Pennsylvania. Do you ship or only sell local at the show? So when I first started out in ball pythons, I actually only sold at the reptile shows. As a matter of fact, if you actually look back on some of my older videos, I'm like, all right, I'm never going to ship a ball python ever, and I'm always going to sell at the reptile shows mainly because I had that one experience with that snake that got really beat up in the mail. And then I discovered you can actually ship from the FedEx ship center to the FedEx ship center, and there's pretty much zero risk of, getting your snakes messed up. A lot of those guys, they've been doing it for a really long time, and they receive them always at the FedEx ship center. So I pretty much have done like a complete 180. Now I don't really sell anything at the reptile shows. I sell everything through FedEx, shipped right to your door. Well, shipped to your local FedEx center. And I avoid shipping directly to your door. Although I've actually had some people that say the only way I can get a snake is to ship it right to my door. Every now and then I've actually done that, but I don't really like to do them. All right, let's see. Manual. There's a 3-year-old female with 600 grams, very bad eater. Temperature is okay. The owner tried all types of food, all sizes, live and frozen thawed. Yeah, so 3-year-old, 600 grams. So what I would probably do on that one, I would actually try the coconut husk substrate, like the Pro Coco coconut husk chip. Try that. Sometimes the smell of that seems like it stimulates the appetite. And then what I would do on something like that, I'd probably try like a live mouse, like a full-size adult mouse, and put that in there. That's usually like the candy for ball pythons. Maybe try a mouse, maybe 2 of them, and then try to follow up maybe with a frozen thawed mouse, and then eventually go over to rats or something like that. But usually a live mouse will really snap a lot of snakes out of it. Panama Red 72, what is up? Wasteland Relaxer. You wouldn't believe all the places I looked for the escapee. I cut apart my cabinetry, disassembled my TV and fridge. Found her inside the wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I lost a snake here. It was a really super tiny king snake that I lost years ago, and I'm thinking it actually crawled in the heating ducts or something. I never found that snake. All right, Straight Heated is a bad to breed sister and brother from the same clutch. Well, it's kind of interesting. It really depends on who you ask as far as inbreeding. If you ask your veterinarian, most veterinarians will say, yeah, never breed siblings together, never inbreed your snakes. Although most people that breed ball pythons, will pretty much agree across the board that there's not really a problem with inbreeding. And most of the times, especially with ball pythons, you pretty much have to inbreed siblings to go after the project that you're looking for. So for example, I actually bred an albino pied to a clown and made some triple hets. And the only other way I can actually get triple hets to breed to another triple het is to breed the siblings together. There's really no other way, unless I produce some from like breeding the albino pied to like a different clown. Or if I had another clown and another albino pied, which a lot of people, I don't think they have multiples or something like that to breed them together. But a lot of those projects, yeah, you're pretty much stuck breeding siblings together. Sunflower pythons. Have you ever dealt with a respiratory infection? Yes. So on my reticulated python, Lucy has had some really bad respiratory infections. I've never had any on my ball pythons. And I think it's mainly because she kept pushing and pushing and really messed up her mouth trying to get out of the tub. You have to really dial in the temperature and the humidity and everything for those reticulated pythons. Otherwise, they have so much power, they really mess up their face. And then once their face gets messed up, they get a bacterial infection, and then their mouth swells up, it gets all gray and puffy, and then that leads to a respiratory infection just from the damage of the face. So reticulated pythons are a little bit tricky. All right, let's see. The scary thing about RI for ball pythons is a possible symptom of the nidovirus. Yeah, so the nidovirus, yeah, I'm not really too concerned with that, because if you actually get that, essentially what will happen from what I've heard is your snakes will have kind of like a spider wobble, and they'll kind of lose their equilibrium and they'll die really quickly. I've seen some people where it just runs through their collection and kills a lot of snake. If you have a lot of sick snake, I would definitely check for that. But I haven't had any sick snake. As a matter of fact, I had one snake that died in my whole collection, just randomly passed away. And it's been probably 4 years. I was just going through my tubs, opened up a tub, and I had this random dead snake. I was like, that's the weirdest thing. Because usually snakes are pretty bulletproof. It's almost impossible to kill a snake unless you have some kind of disease like that running through your collection. All right, Louis, how do I keep hot and cold side in a small enclosure for baby ball python? So yeah, it gets a little bit tricky if you have, especially if you have a really cold room and you have a small enclosure and you're trying to figure that out. So what I would actually do, I've actually seen some people, they'll take their snake and they'll put it like in a walk-in closet, and then they'll put a space heater on a thermostat and try to do like an ambient temperature that way. That's essentially what I do in my snake room. On a bigger level, I'll set the ambient temperature as far as just kind of dialing in a space heater, and then you can actually put a heat mat over on one end for the hot spot. So another way you could probably do that, maybe put the small enclosure in something bigger. I'm trying to think of something bigger. You can actually do like a small closet or some other kind of something else that's a little bit bigger. I've actually seen some people, it's kind of hard to do it, especially if you have like a heat lamp on one side, you're trying to dial it in with like a rheostat, trying to get the temperature right. And then you have the hot spot on the other side. This gets a little bit complicated with a smaller enclosure. Let's see. All right, Jesse, is there any way I could find out how old my ball python is? So when it comes to the age of the ball python, you really can't tell how old it is. You can tell pretty much the minimum age. So for example, if you actually had a snake like Bobby that's like 2,800 grams, obviously this one's not a hatchling, it's not a yearling. And I'd say 2,800 grams, it's probably at least 4 years old, maybe 5 years old at 2,800 grams. Bobby's actually 8 years old. And it seems like, a really old ball python that doesn't really have any indication that it's an old snake. I've seen some that are like, I have some that are like 12 years old and they don't really look any different than a smaller snake, especially if you have a really old one that's kind of been limit fed and it's kind of small. A lot of times you can't tell how old it is. Let's see. Let me see. All right, Larry Finch. I had my very first clutch this week. 7 good and 1 slug. Congratulations. That's actually pretty typical of a clutch. Every now and then I'll get a slug, but I really don't have that many. So as far as my collection, I tend to cycle my males pretty frequently through my females at least once a month. As a matter of fact, if you cycle your male more times through your females, I think you have less of a chance of getting slugs in any of your clutches. And I'd say maybe out of 100 eggs, I might get like 6 or 7 slugs out of 100 eggs. So not that many. I've actually seen some people where they get a slug in every single clutch, and to me that seems like an indication that you're really not moving your males through your females enough time through the breeding season. All right, Miller and Madness. Went to my buddy's house. He is into something different, exotics. He took his 100 flower rat snake out. So I have seen those 100 flower rat snakes. Those are pretty amazing. Although I really don't know anything about them. I know ball pythons. When it comes to other snakes, I really don't know them that well. All right, Chris Smith. I paid our DJI Mavic to a Mystic and got one lock back in December, 2 weeks ago. I could feel 4 distinct bumps when I was running my fingers along her belly this week. I don't feel anything. So sometimes they can kind of trick you when you're trying to palpate the females and look for the follicles in there. Sometimes you can feel them. And to me, sometimes it's kind of hard. You actually need a pretty good technique to actually feel them. Sometimes your snake will absorb the follicles. They get to a certain size and they'll reabsorb them, and you won't get any eggs. But I think probably the better chance is it's a little bit tricky to feel the follicles, especially as they get bigger and they start aging. Sometimes they can get really big and they almost feel like one big clump in there. Let's see. Miss Bianca Barnes. How much bigger can my female ball python get? She's about 4 feet long now, and the male is 3 feet long. So I actually did a video on the length of ball pythons. I think my longest one was really close to 6 feet long as far as the longest one here in my collection. You might want to go back in that one. I pulled out my biggest one. I actually used like a software program and then figured out how long it was using that. But I think pretty much the longest the ball python can get is about 6 feet. All right, Steve. Hey, Chris, do you think ball pythons ever become emotionally attached to their owner? No, I actually don't think so. So, for example, if I actually take Bobby and give him to someone else, he's pretty much the same with other people than he is to me. All right, sunflower pythons. Chris, are you in Bailey, Colorado? Yes, I am here at 9,000 feet elevation up here in the mountains of Colorado. As a matter of fact, we still have snow, and I just saw this week we're supposed to get 10 to 15 inches of snow up here in Colorado, which is kind of crazy. I thought the snow was completely done. And I've been riding my bike. As a matter of fact, I rode my motorcycle today. It was 41 degrees. I've been riding it in the cold, trying to get some ride time in. And with the snow, if we get 15 inches, yeah, that's going to wipe me out for like a whole week before that melts. All right, Justin Coleman. How do you feel about hybridization of ball pythons, super ball, burn ball, or Woma ball? So... yeah, I know a lot of people frown on hybridization, breeding a ball python to a non-ball python species. And I'm not sure if some of those combinations are sterile or if they're viable, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of start a whole new like breed of snake where you actually take 2 different species, breed them together, especially if you could take ball python genes and work it into something like a Woma ball. I actually think they call that the wall, the Woma and the ball python combination. But I always thought it would be kind of interesting if they could work other genes from ball pythons into a hybrid mix and start a new project. That'd be kind of crazy. Let's see. All right. All right, Clouds Art. My male, he's about 2. He's a normal, but he has some really nice stripes down the side of his belly. Is that possible? A hidden gene? So I'd have to look at it, but a lot of times if they had stripes on the belly, especially if it has stripes like right along the very kind of the bottom edge of the belly, that could be an indication that it could be het pied. Sometimes the het pieds or like your yellow bellies or gravels, they'll have those. And sometimes they'll actually come up the sides a little bit. It really depends what it looks like as far as the stripes on the sides. But it could be just a random anomaly in a normal. I've actually seen some normals that, as a matter of fact, I've actually seen some people spend big money on a normal and then breed it to a bunch of stuff, and it's not genetic. It's just kind of a random thing on a normal. So, and sometimes it could be a new gene too. Really depends. I would probably breed that to something maybe like another normal and see if it's genetic, which would be interesting. Zachariah, what's up? All right, WGFU 200. How many 50 series tubs do you get changed out? One block of cocoa. So it really depends on the thickness of the coconut husk in the tub. Oh, I got a sneeze. You know, that was the other side effect of that vaccine. After I got that vaccine, I was like, I had to sneeze so bad, but I couldn't. It's like, it was the weirdest feeling for like an hour. I had to sneeze, but I just could not sneeze, which is really wild. So I'd say, I think as far as the thickness of the coconut chip that I put in the tubs, I think I get about 9 tubs per block in the 50 series tub. All right, let's see. Hello from Canada. I was wondering what genes are in the bamboo. So the bamboo, the snake that I have around my neck here, this is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. It's just one single gene. So you take a bamboo, breed it to something else. 50% of the offspring come out as bamboo, which is pretty awesome. Outdoor fever. This hobby is the most hateful hobby from within. They're bashing you on Facebook the other day. I told them to stop hating. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of people. It seems like there's a lot of haters. It seems like everywhere you go, there's haters. It seems like, I don't know, it seems like especially over on Facebook, it's like, as a matter of fact, I actually had one person leave a comment, and he said he felt it was his responsibility to hate on other people. I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. I never heard that before. As far as my channel, I mean, the first hate comment that I see underneath any of my videos, I just ban the user, and that user can't comment. As a matter of fact, it's kind of weird how YouTube works, because if you start like swearing and cussing and stuff in the comments, I'll actually ban you from commenting on my videos, but you can actually still comment, but you're the only one that can actually see the comments. So I might have like, hundreds and hundreds of haters that are putting all this hate comments under my videos, but nobody can see them except the person that's making the comment, which is kind of cool with YouTube. Kind of tricks the haters into being invisible kind of in the background. But yeah, you pretty much get that anywhere. And I found it seems like the more popular you get, you almost have like this, it's kind of like in statistics where you have the hump in the middle where most people are like, okay, this is, a pretty good guy, I can watch his videos. And then you have people way on the right that absolutely hate you. And then you have people way on the left that actually love you like crazy, just like crazy followers. So it's kind of like the bigger you get, the more of the outliers you can actually see on either side. They care the people that really like you and the people that really hate you. And I think it's just part of being a YouTuber, and it's pretty normal. And you'll actually see a lot of people. Some people say, I don't know how you can hate this guy, and other people they really bash me, but. Yeah, YouTube's pretty controlled, so I don't really worry about the haters over here. You just have to ignore them and block them and keep going. That's pretty much all you can do. All right, Justin, I've been looking at this white demon at my local pet store. Would you recommend purchasing it? I haven't done much research. So the white demon. So I think I saw a white demon ball python, but I think it was a mistake. Wait a minute. I actually just got a message over here. Let's see. They want me to ship my last snake tomorrow. I just saw that over here. Wait a minute. All right, so let's see. White diamond. That's got to be white diamond, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah, the white demon, white diamond. So the white diamond is the Super Russo. The Russos in the blue of the cystic complex. So there was a demon snake over here. I think it was like the red demon or something. White demon female, albino VPI xanthic, blue-eyed leucistic. Let me see. Albino axanthic. So yeah, so that is an albino VPI axanthic. That's actually a snow. So yeah, snow. So I've never heard it called a white demon before. There was another one, I think it was called the red demon, but I think it was a mistake over on YouTube. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that one. All right, so I completely lost my place over here in the comments. I know I was like 40 or 50 comments back behind here. Let me see if I can catch up. I already answered that one. Let's see. I haven't answered that one yet. Let's see. All right, so I answered that one. All right, yeah. So the white demon, I would definitely. Technically that's a VPI snow. That's kind of the slang name that I would. So yeah, you could actually. I would definitely purchase that one. That's pretty awesome. All right, Steve says, "Hey Chris, do you think the Ball Python will ever become?" Oh, I already answered that one. Clint Winton, what's up? What's up, Chris and Bobby? James Montez, hey Chris, are you still breeding African soft fur? Any beginner tips? Not having much luck on my first colony. Yeah, I completely gave up on African soft furs. Completely gave up. So when I actually had them once, I was doing pretty good. Had a colony of quite a few. Before I got my mice, I was doing African soft furs, and I would produce some, but they grew really super slow. As a matter of fact, when I first started out in glass aquariums, I had some rats and some African soft furs, and it seems like they produce offspring, but they grow really fast, and the offspring grow really slow, and they just don't produce as much as I would like. They're really slow producers compared to rats and mice. And then I got out of the ASF for a while, and then just recently, maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I got into African soft furs again. I had one male and like 4 females, and for whatever reason, they would not breed and reproduce. I didn't get any babies. I think there was something wrong with that male, which is kind of crazy. And then I just pretty much gave up on African soft furs. But if you're doing African soft furs, what I would actually do is I would get like a glass aquarium and then some of those wheels that they run on, those little wire wheels. And let me tell you, African soft furs will go crazy for those wheels. It's like that is their one life purpose, is to run on the wheel. And if you actually have like 5 or 6 in there, they're all jam into the wheel and try to run on it all together. They're like crazy for those wheels. And if you actually have them in glass aquariums, put a wheel in there, it's almost like having the best pet rodents ever, because they're pretty crazy. And then I actually had to set up like that, and it worked pretty good. And I was taking out the pregnant females and putting them in a separate enclosure so they could actually have the babies. But let me tell you, those wheels are pretty funny. They'll run on those things all the time. All right, let's see. Yes, haters, lots of haters. Yeah, so people talking about the haters. Let's see. Ace of Nothing. Hello, I just joined. I'm planning on getting a ball python from Morphmarket. The breeder told me to get a 10 or 20 gallon tank since it's 10-month old. Seems a bit small. So personally, I really don't like glass aquariums for ball pythons, because a lot of times, essentially the kind of the living space of a ball python is the dark space of the enclosure. So really it's only the size of the hide in the enclosure. So yeah, so I actually prefer, what I would actually get is, so it really depends what you're after. I would actually recommend like an ARS 7010, which is like a 70 series tub, just one level. You can do that, get it from ARS Caging. Either, some people actually go for the glass aquariums, but I prefer like the gray tubs, like the ones behind me. All right, yeah, Lil Papa says there's haters wherever you go. I agree. Let's see. All right, Sunflower. I had a ball python keep pushing on her lid and actually pushed in her top lip and got stuck in her bottom tooth. She ended up fixing it herself. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I've never seen a ball python where they kind of mess up their lip and it gets stuck on another lip. But that's, yeah, that's kind of scary, especially if a snake starts pushing like that. Let's see. So yeah, the best idea is to allow the snake to fully extend its body on two sides of the enclosure. So I've actually seen a lot of people will recommend that the sides of the enclosure should be long enough for a snake to stretch out on one side and then along the front as far as the size of the enclosure. Some people actually go by that. What I actually go by in my tubs is I look for like the coiled up ball python in the tub over the hot spot and make sure the sides don't touch the ball python. If the sides are touching the snake when the snake's coiled up over the hot spot, then it's too small and I need a bigger enclosure. All right, Bobby. He is trying to run away. What are you doing? All right, Mason's Animals. Can you please make a video on your khaki Campbell ducks and your dubia roaches? So it's kind of interesting the way YouTube works. So if you're actually a YouTuber and you're making videos, what you'll actually find is every now and then I'll actually kind of go rogue on some of my videos. And the problem is YouTube knows that I'm a Ball Python channel. So when I put out a video that's not directly related to ball pythons, it confuses the algorithm. So usually when I do ducks or roaches or something like that, a lot of times I'll like put it at the end of a video. As a matter of fact, I'm actually kind of changing things up on Mondays. Tomorrow is going to be like a completely different video that's kind of not related to ball pythons. And I think that's what I'm going to start doing, just kind of throw these random videos out there. So I may do like a Monday, kind of do like a random Monday video, maybe of like ducks and roaches and stuff like that to kind of mix things up. So I think that's something a little bit different from the channel instead of doing ball pythons every single time. So maybe I will do that in this on a Monday. All right, let's see. Let's see, sunflower pythons. What thermostat do you use? I just have a hobbyist thermostat that blew a fuse. Couldn't figure out what it was. $100, replace the heat tape. It's the $2. Yeah, so on my thermostats, essentially what I do is I just use random thermostats throughout my use. I actually use some herb stats and some VE 100s, VE 300s, and I just kind of randomly went through a bunch of different thermostats. I use, I think I just have a regular herb stat. I have a herb stat 4 with the 4 different levels. And then what I actually do is I take a separate temperature probe that actually has an alarm with the high and the low temperature. And I put those also on the tubs and I set the high and the low. That way, if the thermostat accidentally gets unplugged or if it blows a fuse or something like that, I still have something that'll alarm on the rack. So, you know, I don't think it really matters which thermostat you use. You probably want to avoid some of the cheap ones, like the jump start ones. A lot of times they'll pulse on and off. And sometimes if you actually look at the high temperature versus the low temperature, you'll have a big range between the high and the low. So you want something that kind of pulses or is like, has a steadier temperature. So I'd say anywhere from, you could probably spend like $80 on a thermostat and be pretty safe as far as it controlling the temperature. All right, does anyone like garter snakes and bull snakes? Yes. As a matter of fact, when I grew up, my very first snakes that I caught in the wild were garter snakes. Let's see. Billy Dunlap just bought my first pet ball python. It's a Hidden Gene Woma Yellow Belly. Anything I need to know? Yeah, so Hidden Gene Woma Yellow Belly, that is really close to the Inferno, which is pretty awesome. So if you actually are thinking about breeding that, what I would breed that to is I would breed it to a pastel The Inferno is actually the pastel, yellow belly, hidden gene woma granite. And a lot of people say you can drop the granite and still get the Inferno. It's a pretty awesome combination working pastel into the hidden gene woma yellow belly. Let's see. There's someone says hi, but it's in Chinese. Someone from China. What's going on? All right. Snake eyes. Flower snakes require the humidity similar to reticulated pythons. Interesting. Let's see. They have pied garters. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know they had genes in garter snakes. There was one guy that had a whole website full of a whole bunch of different localities of garter snakes. I thought that was kind of interesting, but I think he pretty much got out of the garter snake business. Let's see. Have you been to the Sasquatch outpost there? I stay in Evergreen during the summers. No, I haven't been to the Sasquatch outpost. Haven't seen Bigfoot. Do you have any red-tailed boas? I don't have any boas right now. Let's see. What do you think about breeding spider ball pythons? It's a heated debate with the spider ball pythons. I would say, yeah. So a lot of people are really against spiders, and some people say, yes, it's okay to breed spiders. And if you actually go over to Morphmarket.com, some of the most popular genes and combinations contain the spider gene because it really makes some of the most impressive looking snakes. And I dabble in spiders a little bit here in my collection. The problem is if you have too many spiders, keep in mind, if you breed two spiders together, 25% of the time you'll make the super spiders, which is a lethal combination. So if you have, when I first started, I bought like 6 or 7 spider combinations, and I had all these snakes that I couldn't breed together because I didn't want to breed 2 spiders together. So that's kind of the downside of breeding spiders. But yes, I do breed some spiders. I think it's a double-edged sword as far as the spiders. As a matter of fact, over in the UK, they've banned the show and sale of spiders in some of the biggest reptile shows over there. So yeah, it's a pretty debated topic with the spiders. Let's see. So I have a honey Mojave, possible cinnamon yellow belly, Cypress male. What should I breed with them? Let's see. Honey, Mojave, cinnamon, yellow belly, Cypress. That's a good question. So the Mojave's in the blue-eyed leucistic, and the Mojave, what I really like with the Mojave is you can mix it with the special and make some crystals. I absolutely love the crystals. It's kind of like a yellow, it's like a yellow blue-eyed leucistic. I don't know what Bobby's doing on top of my head here. What are you doing? So that would be cool. Or you could take the Mojave and breed it into like the Phantom or the Mystic. Make some purple passions or mystic potions. That would be pretty awesome. Of course, the yellow belly, you could breed the yellow belly to an asphalt, then make the freeways. That's probably what I would do, is get something like an asphalt or a gravel, and then you'd make the freeways, working all these other genes into the freeways. That would be pretty amazing. Pretty high-end project on that one. And then with the cinnamon, you could actually make 8 balls with the cinnamon and the black pastel. That makes some 8 balls. A lot of stuff you can breed with that. It's pretty awesome. All right, Snake Eyes. I want to give Bobby one of my hamsters. Yeah, I don't know if I want Bobby on a hamster though, because I know they can get stuck on hamsters, which is you really. I think it's hard to sell a snake if you're like, yeah, this is a hamster only ball python. It's like, where in the world do you get hamsters? Just a wee. Hey, what is going on? Jojo, what do you think about breeding spiders? Yeah, so double-edged sword with the spiders. I heard Johnson & Johnson has bad side effects. Yeah, so I just got my COVID vaccine yesterday. I scheduled the Johnson & Johnson. As a matter of fact, when I went in yesterday for my shot, they said it was supposed to be the very first day of the Johnson & Johnson, and due to all the side effects, they pulled it, and they haven't been given the Johnson & Johnson, which is kind of crazy. So I ended up doing the first shot of the Pfizer vaccine. Mike says, Chris, is Bobby just a bamboo or have other stuff in the mix? So this snake around my neck, this is just a straight bamboo with no other genes in the mix. Just a straight bamboo. All right, is a 40-gallon reptile tank big enough for a 6-foot long snake? I was told wouldn't outgrow it. Yeah, so I'd have to look at the dimensions of a 40-gallon. So for a 6-foot long snake, so I really don't like glass aquariums. I don't really think that ball pythons do good enough. I prefer the gray tubs, because if you actually take a gray tub the same size is like a 40-gallon, you'll actually have a living space that the ball python can hang out pretty much the whole time. Versus in a glass aquarium, they're always under the hide and never really come out except at night, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, so the other thing is with a 6-foot long snake, you'd have to have a really big hide in the 40-gallon because they like to live pretty much in the dark. So yeah, I'd say it's kind of tough with glass aquariums. Can you boop Bobby's nose? This is Bobby. Bobby doesn't mind if I boop his nose. He is a super calm snake. Like he doesn't even really react to anything. I can mess with his nose. I can do anything with Bobby. Super, super friendly snake. Let's see. Stormy. Hi, Chris. Hi, Bobby. What's up? Let's see. A bunch of guys who follow mutation creation hate Chris Hardwick. They're jealous. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I think the problem with haters is a lot of other channels really don't ban the haters, so you see a lot of the hate in the background. I've seen a lot of big reptile channels on YouTube where they just let the haters have a heyday on their channel, and it seems like there's a lot more aggression in the comments than there actually should be. If you actually just went in there, let me tell you, if you actually have like me, I think I just passed like 44,000 subscribers. And if you look at all the haters that I have blocked on you can actually go into my YouTube analytics. There's probably only maybe 20 of them. So not that many people can make a lot of ruckus in the comments on a YouTube channel. So it's kind of interesting. There's not a lot of people, but it just seems like it because of what they're saying. All right, smooth one. What's the best way to warm up a ball python bath for mites? So for mites, so what I would actually do if you have mites, probably the first thing that I would try is to rub some olive oil on your ball python. It's one of the new tricks that I've just been hearing about. A lot of people use olive oil. As a matter of fact, I heard a lot of people catching wild snakes down in Florida. They'll actually give them an olive oil bath and keep olive oil on them for a while to get rid of all the mites and all the parasites on the ball python. So that's probably what I would use first. All right, David, how should I go about adding leopard to my Orange Dream TSK Axanthic project for the triple visual? That's a good question. So if you're doing triple recessive, yeah, I'd make some hets with so you're doing leopard, Orange Dream. So leopard is codominant, Orange Dream's codominant, TSK Axanthic is recessive. So if you're doing, usually when we say triple visual, we're talking about like a triple recessive. But if you actually want leopard to an Orange Dream TSK, probably what I would do is I do like a leopard TSK to add to that. Then you'd actually get all Axanthics, or you could do at least like a leopard het Axanthic to breed to that. If you actually just did a leopard, the problem is you breed a leopard to that, you'd get hets, and then you'd have to grow up the hets to bring her back, which would take you quite a while to produce a visual, but it would be the cheapest way to go. It really depends on how much you want to spend on that one. All right, let's see. Pink Ghost, you're like the most sympathetic person on earth. Thank you. Snake Eyes, they were mad because Chris Hardwick bought a Harley Davidson with his ball python snake breeding money. Yeah, I've been riding that Harley Davidson too. As a matter of fact, I drove it the other day. I've been trying to figure out how to drive in the cold. Today I drove at 41 degrees for about half an hour, and I was toasty warm. I had a really thick jumpsuit and a full face helmet, doing pretty good as far as gearing up in the cold weather. I'm still a little nervous about the corners though, when I go around the corner, especially if there's gravel or sand on the road. That just kind of freaks me out still. I definitely have to get used to that bike. It's kind of crazy. All right, Sloppy Oxy Scum. So I have 3 ball pythons, all healthy and great, all set up with the proper tank hides and heat. But I have one DJI Mojave that refuses to leave his cold sign. So yeah, so sometimes it's kind of interesting with ball pythons. Sometimes a snake will just like to be on the cold side, and sometimes it'll move over to the hot side. It's just kind of random. Sometimes they just don't like to be warm. And I would just say it's normal for ball pythons. Sometimes they just hang out on the cold side, sometimes for days and days, and sometimes they'll just crawl over to the warm side too. So it just depends on the snake and what mood he's in, really. All right. Let's see. All right. So, let's see. I'm about what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm about 50 comments behind here. All right. But I'm catching up. All right. Stormy, took your word on breeding my pastel yellow-belly pied male. Got a little girl on the way. Pastel lesser orange dream. Nice. That's awesome. Let's see. Hinging woma in a snake, will it have head wobble? So hinging woma can potentially have head wobble, but I really haven't seen a lot of examples of people having head wobble with the hinging woma. I'd say usually the head wobble is associated more with spiders and champagnes. I've seen a lot of head wobble. Sometimes if you actually mix hinging woma with other genes, so I think you can actually make like a hinging woma spider, which I don't think it's a lethal combination, but I'd probably avoid doing that because potentially you could have more of a chance of having a head wobble in some of those combinations. So, but I'm not sure, just the hinging woma by itself. I really haven't heard a lot of people complaining about head wobbles in hinging womas. Let's see. What do you think about 66% het black lace? So I haven't done morph review on the black lace. I'll have to get back with it. I'm not really too familiar with that gene. All right, love your videos, Chris. Awesome, thank you. Let's see. Black Label Morphs. What's up, Cowboy Chris? What is going on? Jojo, what do you think about breeding the spider ball pythons? Yeah, so I do breed a few spider ball pythons, just a little bit. A lot of people, so, you know, some people actually ask me at the reptile shows, when I go to the reptile show, they're like, hey, where's your spiders? Because nobody else is breeding them. I do produce a few, but a lot of people stay away from spiders. And some people have a really strong opinion against breeding spider ball pythons, but I do breed a few here in my collection. Let's see. Ace of Nothing. Is this recorded? I have to go, but I'm waiting for a question to be answered. Yes, this is recorded. The whole thing will be recorded, and it'll be available to watch whenever you want to watch it. Yep. Let's see. Goldie Butterball. I think breeding ball pythons is wrong. Yeah, I think you're on the wrong channel. This channel is about breeding ball pythons. Yeah, so that's pretty funny. All right, Pink Ghost, such a calm noodle. Yeah, Bobby is super calm. As a matter of fact, if Bobby gets a little bit squirrely, I may bring out Bubble. She's like my backup when Bobby wants a break. Yeah, I think breeding Bol Pythons is wrong. They live a life of pain. Yeah, I don't think Bobby's in pain. Bobby loves to be out in the. As a matter of fact, yeah, so that's, yeah, so that's like a lot of PETA people. They're like, yeah, keeping any kind of an animal is wrong. Yeah, that's not really the topic of my channel. We just talk about breeding Bol Pythons on this channel. All right, let's see. So how do you hit that 85-degree mark for Mike? I think I missed a question on that because I'm not sure I really understand that one. Let's see. Questland. Hi, snake people. What is up? It's been a long time, but I didn't forget about you. Nice. Let's see. And Joshua, I think White Demon is some form of white snake with albino to give it red eyes. Let's see. Owen, I have a SH Butter and an SH Butter Mojave. SH Scaleless head. Okay. What do you think Scaleless will actually... Do you think Scaleless will actually sell? So yeah, everybody was really into the Scaleless for a really long time. It just kind of blew up in popularity and everybody flooded the market with the Scaleless heads. And now it seems like a lot of people are getting out of it. I've actually seen a lot of big breeders that aren't doing the Scaleless heads, which is kind of interesting. So I think that really opens up the market. I think it'll be a lot more popular, that not everybody is still in the Scaleless and the Scaleless heads. So I think there will always be the niche market for the Scaleless. As a matter of fact, I think it'll be kind of a long-term project, kind of like the recessives, because it's kind of like a super where you need 2 copies of the gene for a visual, and it's a little bit harder to hit. So yeah, I definitely think the Scaleless it'll be with us for a long time, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Let's see, which are better, ball pythons or corn snakes? It really depends what you're after. So if you're brand new into snakes, I've had people come into my reptile room that are brand new, never touched a snake, never held a snake. And let me tell you, they are more comfortable with ball pythons because they don't move as much compared to a corn snake. Corn snakes can be really squirrely. But when it comes to feeding, I would say a corn snake is definitely easier to feed consistently every single week. But when it comes to breeding and working with genes, the Ball Python definitely has the advantage because there's hundreds of Ball Python genes versus just, I'd say, if you actually look at the corn snake genes, I don't think there's maybe 30 genes in corn snakes that I've actually seen. I don't think there's as many. Definitely not as many as ball pythons, but I've seen quite a few corn snakes, but nowhere near as far as the variety of ball pythons. All right, Arkham, has Bobby ever hissed at you or anyone else? No, Bobby has never tried to bite anyone, never hissed at anyone, but he has drawn blood before. And it's kind of interesting. I was actually on doing a video, and I think he was yawning behind me, and I reached back and tried to move him around. And I think what happened is I put my finger right in his mouth when he was yawning, and he got me right on my hand. I was like bleeding all over the place, which is kind of crazy. But I think it was an accident, and I don't think Bobby would ever bite anyone. All right, let's see. Jay Dubia, you mentioned only one time about some fan mail you got. Do you get actual fan mail much? As a matter of fact, I should go through my fan mail. I do have, I just got a t-shirt from, I think it was like Splash Pack Reptiles, sent me a t-shirt and some stickers. I got some stickers from my animal house. I got some letters from the UK, which were kind of interesting, like handwritten letters. But no, I don't really get that much fan mail. I'd say maybe, the last few years I've gotten maybe 4 or 5 different pieces of fan mail, maybe 6 or 7. But I know a lot of people, you know, if you start opening fan mail and the videos, then everybody kind of wants to promote their channel by sending you fan mail, which kind of promotes more fan mail. I've seen some people where all they do is pretty much open fan mail. A lot of people are doing it to kind of promote their videos and their channel. So not a whole lot of fan mail. Every now and then I will get one though. It's kind of interesting. All right, Goldie, how old is Bobby? Bobby, the snake that's climbing up my neck and my face right here. He is an 8-year-old male bamboo ball python, just turned 8 years old. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, I'm back. What's up, Ace of Nothing? All right, Mary Brewer. What would you get with a banana female and a queen bee 50% het clown? So everything would be possible het clown because keep in mind a 50% het clown has a 50% chance of having one copy of the clown. So it may or may not have a copy of the clown. If it doesn't, then nothing would be clown in any of your offspring. And then keep in mind, if you breed a banana with anything else, you'll actually make a banana 50% of the time. Let's see. You can actually come over here to the genetic wizard on the World of Ball Pythons. Wait a second. What I want to do is I want to come over here. Yeah, so you can actually go either to the Genetic Wizard on the World of Ball Pythons, or you can come over to Morphmarket, and they actually have a calculator over there. You can actually plug it in and figure it out. All right, hold on. All right, so I completely lost my comments here. Hey, we got a super chat. What's up, Mike T? I like completely lost my place here. I think I found my place. All right. All right, let's go down to the super chat question. First super chat of the day at 1:16. Wow. I'm not really that far behind on the comments. Not too bad. Maybe about 20, 25 comments behind. All right, Mike T says, hey, Chris, the shot video is cool. I just signed up for mine. Now that Bobby is retired, you should reward him with a 15 by 15 foot enclosure, a castle for a king. So it's kind of interesting with a lot of these ball pythons. I think they prefer a smaller enclosure. If you put them in too big of an enclosure, sometimes they can kind of get stressed out. And he definitely likes to come out every day and kind of hang out on my shoulders. As a matter of fact, he really looks forward to coming out in front of the camera and hanging out with these videos. He's like, but it's kind of funny if I keep him out for about an hour. Usually he's really excited to go back in his small enclosure, which is, he lives in an ARS 70 series tub, which is pretty much perfect for Bobby. All right, let's see. Where was I in these comments? All right, here I am. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so what would you get with the banana female with the queen bee 50% het clown? That's the one we were actually working on before I lost my place. All right, so you would actually get, so the queen bee is the lesser, the pastel, and the spider. And you would get the banana in the mix. So you get a mix of all those 4 genes. So you can actually go over to one of the genetic calculators. And keep in mind, if you take the banana, the lesser, the pastel, or the spider, and you breed it to anything else, 50% will actually be one of those genes. So it's all those genes mixed together. You'll either get 1, 2, 3, or 4 genes from that combination. Or you'll have a slight chance of getting a normal too, which is pretty slim with 4 genes. Looks like we got another super chat. All right, thank you. That is YLECS. I'm not sure exactly how to say your username, but thank you. That's awesome. All right, let's see. Hey Chris, can you do the occasional video about your bulls? Yes, I will do an occasional video. You should see my bull, my black Angus bull. That thing is massive. I think he's probably close to 3,000 pounds now. He is a beast. So I actually had two bulls, and a couple years ago they were fighting real bad, and then last year one of them got hurt. I think he broke his hip or something like that, fighting over the female, and then he actually passed away, which is pretty sad. So I just have one bull, which is about 300 pounds. Which is a black Angus. I have a black Angus steer, which is probably about 1,500 pounds now. And then I have the black Angus female. She's definitely bred. She should have a calf here, probably late summer. She usually calves pretty late. And then I have my bull calf baby, which is Hercules. He's doing good, getting pretty big. So I have 4 cows right now. What is a beginner recommended snake? So yeah, so I recommended ball pythons for beginners. You get pretty much any gene, even a normal. I is Bobby. Let's see. Let's see. All right, Orlando, getting in line. Only piebald soon. Is there any hope on switching this girl over to frozen thawed? I know they can be stubborn, but they have to eventually get hungry and give in, right? Hey, got another super chat. Thank you. We'll get back to that one. But this one, yeah, so it's kind of funny if you actually have a pied. It seems like for whatever reason, the pieds just really prefer live rats. Sometimes in my experience, it's been hard for me to get my pieds to go over to frozen thawed, which is kind of weird. As a matter of fact, I think both of my pieds, when I bought them, they were fed live only when I got them. I think that's one of the problems. But sometimes you can switch them over, and sometimes it's really difficult to switch from live over to frozen thawed. All right, let's go down to the super chat. All right, David, thank you. Hey, Chris, my new rat snake is super tame. He's like Bobby. Awesome. So I know rat snakes can be a little feisty, especially the Texas rat snakes. I've seen some of those that get really, really aggressive, especially if you don't handle them. They're kind of like the blood pythons, where if you don't handle them, I think naturally they're a little bit harder to tame down. But if you do tame them, they can get puppy dogs. Super. I've actually seen some blood pythons that normally they're pretty aggressive, but I've seen some puppy dog tamed blood pythons too, which is kind of crazy. All right, herp stats are nice. So many options. Yeah, I do have a lot of herp stats. Solo herps. My snake ended up laying eggs. Was like small yolk like, and then again a couple of days ago, I've had 5 to 6 little bumps. Yeah. I'm not sure about that. So usually, so you're saying it laid some eggs, and then your snake still has some bumps in the snake, which could be problematic. It potentially could be some eggs retained in the snake. That could potentially be a problem as far as the snake's health. So I actually had, I think it was like 2 times that I've been breeding snakes over the last 6 years. 2 times I've actually had where my snakes will actually retain the eggs, and sometimes it's hard to get those eggs out of the snake. And what I actually found is if you have a female that lays eggs and you can get them back on food, a lot of times the feeding of a rat will actually push out the remaining eggs, which is kind of a neat trick as far as getting the eggs out of your snake. But sometimes it can be problematic, especially if those eggs are in there for a really long time. All right, let's see. I have this fireman, just got her about 2 months ago, 3,500 grams. She hasn't eaten for me. She's been wrapping bowl in a rack system. Why do you think she won't eat? Yeah, so 3,500 grams, a lot of times the snakes will go off of food at just random times. I've actually, it's 3,500 grams, they can fast for a really long time, and a lot of times they won't lose a lot of weight. I would just keep offering every single week on that. Hello from Oakland, California. What is going on? All right, the Friendly Bandit. What would be your number one tip to anyone considering getting into ball python breeding? Number one tip. Well, it really depends on the number one tip getting into ball python breeding. So probably the one thing that I would change, like when I started in ball pythons, when I started at the very beginning, I bought a whole bunch of hatchlings. And the problem with hatchlings is a lot of times you're waiting for years for those hatchlings to mature. So if I was to start over and do it again, what I would do is I'd buy at least one or two adult, ready to breed females right off the bat. So you can actually have some hatchlings right from the beginning at the very first year, so you're not so discouraged and going in the hole. You know, a lot of times you're like changing the bedding and feeding all your snakes, and if you have all hatchlings, you're not making any money from your ball python breeding business. I would definitely probably start with a couple females that are ready to breed, so you can kind of jumpstart your operation. That's probably the number one tip as far as getting into it. All right, so we've been going for an hour, 25 minutes. 102 people on the line. That's crazy. 38 thumbs up. That is pretty wild. All right. Let's see. Sean Brown. I have a ball python that sounds like it breathes heavy when I hold it. It's not a hiss. I don't say mucus. I was wondering if snakes do that. Yes. So if I actually pick up Bobby a certain way, and like if I actually pick him up like this, sometimes he'll hiss in my ear. It's just like you're like depressing his lungs, and sometimes they'll hiss a little bit. It's not really a respiratory infection. I think it's like grabbing someone and kind of squeezing the air. Sometimes they'll kind of let off kind of breathe out the air, especially when you pick them up. It's, as far as what I've seen, it's pretty much normal across the board. Let's see. Ace of Nothing. Hey, popping in with another question. Is Eco Earth and Forest Floor an okay substrate combination? I got the idea from Go Herping, but I want other opinions. So yeah, so I've actually seen people use Forest Floor for ball pythons. I've seen some people use Eco Earth. The problem with Eco Earth is it seems to really be messy and it sticks to everything. So it would be pretty good to have a combination with the Forest Floor and the Eco Earth. I've never actually tried that combination, but I would think you could use it. All right, Sean Brooks. I have a male Mojave pastel 100% het clown. I'm thinking about breeding him with a bumblebee. That would be pretty cool. So the bumblebee is the pastel and the spider. You breed it with the Mojave pastel. So you would actually get super pastels. You would get the super pastel spider, and you would get the Mojave in the mix. That would be a pretty awesome combination on that. Everything would be 50% het clown on that. Wiggly Finn, how do you get your ball python into a healthy weight? That's a good question. It really depends on if they're eating or not. And sometimes they'll fast for months and months and get skinnier and skinnier. Sometimes they can look really super skinny. And then when they come back on food, what I usually do is I'll actually start offering twice a week, coming off a really long fast. And eating twice a week, let me tell you, it only takes like a month and they look really super plump again. They can gain weight really fast. And when they're fasting, they lose weight really slow. So it's not really that big of a deal for a fasting ball python because they can gain weight pretty fast when you start feeding them. All right, Peter Holden, can you stack different size ARS rack levels, like a few 70-30 levels on the bottom and a few hatchling levels on the top? So you'd actually have to talk with ARS caging. Sometimes you can stack them and sometimes you can't. And if you're actually a welder, if you're handy with welding, I've actually made my own adapters where you can actually build like I can't remember. I think it's like a 1-inch square tube. And then if you cut it with like a chop saw and actually use like a wire feed welder, you could pretty much make any kind of an adapter and make an adapter to do that. But I think it depends. So over here I have my 80 ARS 8018 tubs on the bottom, and then 7030s on the top. And then on my rodent racks, I actually put a couple levels of a mouse rack on top of my rat rack, but I had to build my own adapter for that. So I'm not sure. As a matter of fact, I actually built an adapter for my rodent rack, and I told ARS that they could actually use my design. I took all the pictures. I was like, hey, it's really easy. You guys should make some adapters. And from what I've heard, they've actually used some of my designs and made some more adapters where you can stack some of these racks. It's really simple to do, just kind of weld stuff together to make the adapters. So you'd have to check with them and see if they've made anything like that where you can stack certain levels. And then sometimes they actually change the sizes, like the BOA tubs. The old ones used to stack on the 70-30 levels, and then the new ones stack on the 50-40s. So some things have changed over the years. All right, David, hi from Canada. What pairing are you hoping for this year? So there's quite a few. I'm breeding my I actually have my banana het pied that I'm breeding with my female pied, my visual pied female, hoping for some banana pieds, which would be pretty cool. I'm breeding my visual desert ghosts together with pastel. It would be pastel, super pastel, and spider in with my desert ghosts. I'm actually breeding my banana inchy clown to my bamboo pastel pinstripe, hoping for some good combinations on that one too. That's probably the best stuff that I got cooking this year as far as some of the really good stuff that I'm working with. I'm actually producing quite a few bamboos too. A lot of people just want straight bamboos like Bobby, and I should have quite a few bamboo hatchlings. Assuming I get some eggs, you never know. I don't have any eggs this year so far, but it looks like I should have maybe about 10 females that'll lay at least. All right, Colton says, smash that like button. All right. Let's see. Justin, as soon as my male is out of shed, I'm going to parent my pinstripe with my banana spider. Yes. I do like the pinstripe bananas. That's a pretty awesome combination, especially with the spider. That'll be pretty awesome. All right, sunflower pythons. Any advice for a hatchling that absolutely won't eat? I've had to assist feed since October. So, yeah, so that's kind of tough. What I would actually do is I'd probably try like a live mouse hopper. I mean, you get to the point where almost if you actually have one that hasn't eaten for a really long time, sometimes it gets really super small. Sometimes you have to assist feed. What I would do is I put like a mouse hopper in there and leave it overnight in the enclosure. Sometimes that'll work, and sometimes it's kind of scary if your hatchlings won't eat. It's just part of the game as far as doing ball pythons. I'd say, usually ball python hatchlings, you have to start them on live mouse hoppers as far as getting them started, and then you can slowly transition over to a frozen thawed. And as far as assist feeding, I'd say maybe about 1 or 2 hatchlings out of about 100 I have to assist feed. So not that often as far as the number of hatchlings that you have to assist feed. All right, what do you think are the best Kodam looking jeans? Good question. As far as the supers, I really like the super pastel, pretty much an entry-level combination that it looks really well with anything. Anything with super pastel is pretty awesome, especially if you wear clown in with the super pastel. I really like the super vanillas, which is pretty awesome. One of the best supers. My nose always itches during these live streams. I don't know why. All right, John Adams. Hey, Chris, I have 7 baby ball pythons, 4 females, 3 males. Plan on breeding. Any advice? Yeah, so 4 females, 3 males. Keep in mind that a male can breed up to 3 females, even up to 4 females. So if you're actually buying more snakes, I would probably buy some more females. When I first started out, I was actually buying 1 male for every 1 female until I realized that I can actually, like 3 males will actually breed up to 9 females. So you can definitely buy more females if you're looking to add some more. Let's see. Jennifer Webb, do you have a website of your babies for sale? I would love to have some of yours. We're just starting into the breeding journey. So I pretty much sell all my ball pythons over on morphmarket.com. And under every single video that I put out, there's actually a description that's auto-generated under my videos, and I actually have a link to my Morphmarket store. And the problem is right now I don't have any hatchlings for sale. Probably won't have any for about 3 months until I'll have some for sale. I'm just waiting for some eggs right now. And it seems like as soon as I get hatchlings, they sell super quick over on Morphmarket. And I think, just doing the YouTube, I think a lot of people are really kind of redirected to my Morphmarket. So yeah, I should have some. I'd say check back. If you want to check my videos, I'll do videos on the eggs that I pull from my females and the egg cutting videos, and put it, the kind of the update of my whole breeding process. Or you can just check back over on Morphmarket in about 2 to 3 months and see what's going on over there. Just checked the female. I changed the paper this morning and she already soiled the paper. Yeah, that is why I do not like paper substrate. You're always chasing the pea all over. As a matter of fact, I just recently tried a paper substrate for my reticulated python, and that was ridiculous. It was like every 2 or 3 days that reticulated python was peeing, and then I'd have to move her out of the enclosure and then clean the enclosure and then move her back, and it was just like back and forth and back and forth. And I could tell that she did not like to be moved that much. And I finally went back to a coconut husk substrate, and she absolutely loves it. It pretty much absorbs all the smell and all the mess over there, which is pretty awesome. All right, the Friendly Bandit. What kind of Harley did you buy? You should do a moto vlog. Definitely some opportunity from crossover viewership. So yeah, I actually did. About a week ago, I put out a video actually as a thumbnail with my Harley Davidson on it. I actually showed my Harley in that video, and I started it up. And let's show you how it sounds starting the Harley Davidson up. So it's actually a 2007 Harley Davidson Dyna Street Bob. It is pretty awesome. I've been driving it pretty much every day up here in the mountains in the cold. As a matter of fact, I drove it today. It was 41 degrees, and I suited up with this jumpsuit and insulated boots, insulated gloves. And I was pretty toasty, even though it was 41 degrees driving that thing around. Still a little unsure. I've been driving it for about a week, so still a little unstable driving my Harley around, especially going around the corners. It's a big, heavy bike. That's the biggest and heaviest bike that I've ever drove. It's kind of crazy. And it has so much power. It's faster than my Porsche. It's kind of crazy. All right, Kimberly, how can you tell if a snake is unhealthy? I went to a reptile show yesterday, saw one that I liked, but it looked skinny, and there was a lot of loose skin, so I decided against this. So yeah, if it's skinny with loose skin, potentially there could be a problem, especially like a feeding problem. It could be like a stubborn feeder, or if it's a little bit bigger, like a yearling or like an adult, it could be on a really long fast. It could be kind of problematic. So that's probably a snake that I would stay away from if it's really skinny with a lot of loose skins. It could be a feeding problem in that. So you kind of have to know your diseases in ball pythons. I'd say pretty much the number one thing you want to look for is mites. It almost looks like little pepper on the snake with little bugs rolling around. You definitely don't want mites in your snake. You also want to look for any respiratory infection, like any bubbling from the mouth or any like wheezing or noise as they're breathing. You definitely don't want any of that. But yeah, sometimes, with the skinny snakes, sometimes they can pop right out of it. They go through a fast, and sometimes you can get them eating and they'll come right out of it. But if you're brand new into ball pythons, I'd probably stay away from really skinny snakes because it could be a problem feeder. All right, Tony, best gene to pair with a firefly. I'm thinking of buying a super pastel cinnamon to pair with my firefly. So yeah, super pastel cinnamon, that would be good. So the super pastel, you would make 50% super pastels, which would be pretty awesome. What I would actually do with the firefly, I would probably try to work in like yellow belly. A lot of times when you add yellow belly to the fire in the pastel, it really brightens and enhances the yellow of the fireflies. You can also work in orange dream to make some really flashy snakes too, which is pretty awesome. Hamza, greetings, Lord Hardwick. What is going on? Martin Exotics fuzzy video. Yes. Welcome to my 2 megabit per second phone line live stream. The worst quality live stream on the internet. And we don't have anything up here in the mountains. As a matter of fact, I didn't do a live stream. When I started doing live streams, I would actually drive all the way down to the highway and do live streams in my vehicle, because we had such bad connection up here. And for a while we actually switched over to a satellite dish, but the problem is it snows up here like 3 days a week. It's always snowing up here. Every time it snows we lose the internet, so it'll work really good until it snows, and we have absolutely nothing. And they don't run like any kind of a cable or anything all the way up here in the mountains. As a matter of fact, most people up here in the mountains don't even have natural gas. They're on a propane system. There's no any kind of a, there's no like a public sewer or anything like that. Everybody is on a septic tank system. We're like up in the middle of nowhere. As a matter of fact, a lot of people up here don't even have water. They just have this big pit, like a cistern where the trucks truck in the water into the cistern. We don't have any type of like public water or anything. Like, we're way out here in the middle of nowhere. So that is where the fuzzy video is coming from. So the one way I can actually fix it, I'm actually waiting on the Starlink, the one from, what is it, Elon Musk. He's putting all the satellites up and trying to do global internet for everyone. That's the thing that I'm really interested in, but they don't currently offer that in my area. All right, Cookie Monster 1920. Do you have any tarantulas? I do have one tarantula. She is a Brazilian giant white knee tarantula, and she will get 12 inches wide. She'll have a leg span of 12 inches. She is a really big tarantula, and she's pretty mean too. You actually put the tongs in the tank with her and she'll bite the tongs. She's crazy. She's a crazy tarantula. Definitely not a tarantula you want to handle. And a full-size Brazilian white-knee tarantula actually has fangs that are like an inch long. It's crazy. You definitely don't want to get bit by one of those. It can do some damage. Yeah, my lives are always fuzzy, pretty bad. So yeah, I'm pretty stuck on the fuzzy lives, at least for now. So yeah, someday I'll have some good internet up here in the mountains. All right, what gene would you recommend breeding to a mystic lesser ball python? So yeah, for a mystic lesser, so when I think of mystic, I always think of the mystic potion, the combination of the mystic and the Mojave. So what you can actually do, you could actually buy a mystic potion, which has a mystic Mojave, and then you would make more mystic potions. You would also make the super mystic, which you should be able to tell the difference between a super mystic and a mystic potion. And then you would actually make some lesser Mojaves, which would be the all-white blue-eyed leucistic, pretty much the ideal all-white blue-eyed leucistic. So that's probably what I do on that. I would buy a mystic potion to breed to your mystic lesser. All right, Crippled Stoner. What's the longest you've seen a female lay eggs after a pre-lay shed? Do you count from Days start shed or when complete. So when my females start looking really fat, like they look like they're going to start laying eggs, I really don't look at the pre-lay sheds and count down and really, I have some, right now I'm breeding like 23 females. And what I do is I just look through every single tub, through every single snake here in my collection. It only takes me like 10 minutes just to slide the tub open, see if there's any eggs in there, and then close it. And a lot of times I'll just do a little spot cleaning too when I open the tubs, but I don't really count the days or anything like that. When I'm getting close to like this time of the breeding season where I think some of the females are going to drop eggs, I just go through once a day and look at all the females to see if I have any eggs. All right, Donnie Main. Bobby inspired me to get my bamboo. Nice. Bobby has that effect on a lot of people as far as inspiring people to get a bamboo. All right, Justin, what would you get if you bred a banana het clown male with a cinnamon albino female? Would you recommend breeding them together? So, banana het clown with cinnamon albino. So keep in mind, if you have a het clown, all the offspring would be 50% het. It would be a 50% chance that they would have one copy. So you're kind of diluting your het clown a little bit. And then if you bred with the cinnamon albino, everything would be 100% het albino. So yeah, you could breed them together, which would be pretty awesome. And then you could breed the offspring back together and hope for the albino clowns, which would be pretty awesome on that combination. All right, Eli Fox, is the super gravel worth getting into, or will it be worth way less than 3 years? So what I've seen, anything in the yellow belly complex, like the highways, the freeways, the super gravels, the super asphalts, they all seem to really be holding their value over the long term. As a matter of fact, it seems like when I started about 6 years ago, they're almost the same price today as they were about 6 years ago, which is kind of crazy. So I would think the super gravels will definitely be worth it, the same or maybe even more in 3 years. It seems like the prices are actually increasing. It seems like the whole pandemic really stimulated the price increase of a lot of the ball pythons. So I would say the super gravel is a good buy. All right, Lewis, can you talk more about ball pythons watching TV? Is there any science explanation? So it's kind of interesting. I was doing a video about ball pythons watching TV. I think I did it like a couple years ago, and a lot of people chimed into the comments. Some people were saying that they let their ball pythons free range in their house. They take them out of the enclosure and let them crawl on the bed and around the bedroom and around the living room, just kind of roam around the house. And a lot of people were saying if they free range their snakes in their house, they would crawl up in front of the TV and just sit there and watch TV, which I thought was kind of interesting. And a lot of people have pretty much said the same thing. They can kind of hypnotize their snake by putting it in front of the TV. All right, Tony, what is the minimum, average, or highest body temperature of my ball pythons? So keep in mind, ball pythons are cold-blooded. So it's pretty much the temperature of the ball python is the temperature of the environment. So I would say pretty much the minimum that you want to keep a ball python at, I would say, is probably mid to upper 70s is probably the coldest you'd want to get the ball python. Although they can handle a lot colder. I've seen some, where they ship them through the mail and you pull them out of the mail and they're like ice cold. And they're perfectly fine. They will recover from that, but you really don't want to keep them at that. I'd say probably mid to upper 70s is the coldest you want to normally keep them at. And the highest, I would say probably about 95 degrees as far as the hottest temperature for ball pythons. I've actually heard at 95 degrees, you can temporarily sterilize your males where it inactivates the sperm in the males, where they won't breed successfully. So I'd say, you probably don't want to go above 95. You probably don't want to go much above like 90 or 92 for a hot spot in with your ball pythons. TVN's World of Reptiles. What is going on? All right, let's see. We're not too far behind on these comments. We're at an hour, 49 minutes. 92 people still on. That's pretty wild. 49 thumbs ups. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change Bobby, which he's doing pretty good, but I want to pull out Bubble, my big pinstripe female. Give Bobby a break here. Put him back in the tub. Hour 50 for Bobby. That's a record. I usually don't have them out that long all in a row. All right. I want to get Bubble. All right, Bubble. Here's my other super friendly snake, and I'm actually breeding Bubble this year. She looks like she might be developing some eggs. She's getting, look at how big she is. She is a massive pinstripe female. All right, Bubble. You're coming out. Oh. Whew. All right, let's see if we can get Bubble out here. All right. All right. Bubble is out and about. Cole, hey Chris, just picked up an adult male banana pastel champagne. Nice. I also have a female pastel het pied. Would I get guaranteed super pastel babies, or how does that work? So yeah, so if you have a male banana pastel champagne and a female pastel het pied, so 25% of the time on average you would get super pastels breeding two pastels together. The other cool thing is if you actually hit the het pied with the champagne, you would actually get snakes that look like visual pieds. Because if you actually mix one copy of the pied, the het pied champagnes look like a visual, which would be pretty awesome. And I think you could pretty much tell your champagnes from your champagne het pieds because champagne het pieds would look like a visual. All right, Punk Rocka. Who's seen Bobby yawn? Yes, I actually saw that out of the corner of my eyes. Like, hey, Bobby's yawning over there in the background. All right, Stormy. I asked my fiance if he had anything he wanted to ask you. He said, would you like to give him your snake collection? Yes, we were just starting out. Yeah, I'm not really looking to give away any free snakes today. I actually made a video on how to get a free snake, and a lot of people are like, hey, can I get a free snake? Don't have any snakes. I don't even have any snakes for sale right now. All right, Donnie, question from a beginner breeder. I just started pairing my male bamboo spinner with my two normal ladies. Both ladies have been off food for about 2 months. Is this normal for breeding females? Yes, your breeding females will definitely go off of food, usually for a couple months too. It's pretty normal for females during the breeding season to go off of food for quite a bit. Luke Townsend Smout, best advice for new hobbyists building a collection. So best advice for new hobbyists, I would say have patience. Ball pythons is kind of a long-term game that takes a lot of patience. It takes a long time for the females to get up to size. Sometimes it'll take up to 3 years or longer for the females, which is kind of crazy. And a lot of times you have to have a lot of patience when your ball pythons go off of food. Sometimes they'll stop eating for months at a time, which can be kind of frustrating if you're not used to it. But yeah, it's pretty much a long-term game with ball pythons. And it seems like it helps if you have like twice the number of females that you actually want to lay eggs. So, if you're looking to have, 10 females lay eggs, probably get 20 females because half of them won't lay eggs usually on any given year. It's kind of how ball pythons work. I say most people, they'll actually say that anywhere from 50% to about 80% of the females will lay eggs on any given year. TVN's World of Reptiles. Wow, Chris, you're popular. Yeah. I'm working on it. Yeah, so I can actually keep up with the comments most of the time, which isn't too bad. I've actually seen some of those guys when they get really super popular. As a matter of fact, I saw where PewDiePie did a live stream. I don't know if you've ever seen like a really big YouTuber do a live stream like that. And the comments were flying by so fast you almost couldn't even see that there were words. It was just like a blur of comments flying by super fast, which is kind of crazy. So far, I've been doing like 3-hour live streams, usually on Saturday and Sunday. I actually didn't do a live stream yesterday, but usually after 3 hours, I can catch up with all of my questions from the live stream from the top to the bottom. All right, Mr. Blue JK4. Hi, Chris. Thank you for the stream. Hope you can find a better quality internet service. Yeah. I'm just glad that this will actually, as a matter of fact, I didn't know that this would stream at 2 megabits per second, which is pretty amazing. William, hey, Chris, big fan. Thank you. Just starting my collection, plan to breed with a few friends. Besides the initial investment, what was the most difficult part of being a breeder? Most difficult part of being a breeder for me, I would say when I first started, I bought a bunch of hatchlings and I was investing for year after year without a return on investment. So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting a couple breeder size females so you have something coming back. So it's not all of an investment for the first few years where you don't make anything. I've actually seen a lot of people that get pretty discouraged getting into ball pythons, and then like 3 years later, they don't have any females that are of size and they get out of it because they get frustrated. All right, Lewis, thank you for your videos and answers. Hugs from Brazil. Wow, all the way from Brazil. That's amazing. All right, Precise 4. My male banana pinstripe 5-year-old has been on a feeding hiatus for 7 weeks. He's only shed 50 grams, still very active. Just won't eat. Yeah, it's pretty common with ball pythons that they just won't eat. As a matter of fact, Bobby went on a food strike for about 2 months, finally went back on food. And then once they go back on food, I like to do 2 rodents a week for at least the first 2 weeks to kind of give them that initial boost. And usually after 2 weeks, they come right back up to size really quick. All right, Justin, my cinnamon albino female will be here Tuesday. Nice. I'm excited. I purchased her from Lucy's Snakes. Huh. Oh, looks like Bubbles decided to wake up a little bit. All right, let's see. Drew, now you got me curious. Is there a book for ball python diseases, or would you just have to look it up online? So I don't know if there's actually a book for ball python diseases. I'd probably just search the internet as far as just kind of looking it up online. Yeah, you just pretty much have to look at, I try not to cover diseases here on my channel because I'm not a veterinarian and I really don't like to give advice. So I pretty much stay away from a lot of stuff like that. But I know a lot of the big breeders, a lot of the big ball python, the reptile channels, a lot of times they'll go into depth in a lot of the diseases of ball pythons. All right, DG Reptiles 215. I have a chocolate Pastavi het desert ghost male. What kind of female should I put with them? Yeah, so if you have het desert ghosts, I would definitely pair with another het desert ghost or another visual desert ghost to get that into your desert ghost. Looks like we have a member, Justin Lee, a new member on the channel. Thank you for being a fan. Yeah, so people have been asking me, hey, how do I become a member? You can actually look under any of my videos, and there's the little join button right under the video. You click that, and you can become a member. And then if you're a member, I'll actually put your name at the end screen of every video, and you actually show up in the chat as a member. I can see when people are members when they make a comment here in the chat. Yeah, so I would definitely go with desert ghosts with a visual or something. I'd probably go with a visual on that, so you know you'd have 100%. It seems like even the Desert Ghosts sell for quite a bit of money, so I'd definitely probably go with a visual Desert Ghost to breed to that hat. Maybe with some other genes in it if you can afford it. I know Desert Ghosts can be pretty expensive. Justin, do you ever take your snakes for drives? Not really. I don't really like to take them out of the reptile room here. Only ever took Bobby for one drive, and that was to the reptile show. I actually did a video on that. Tiffany Turner, hello. What is going on? William, hi. What is going on? Bill Dunlap. Let's see. How long does it take for Ball Python to go number 2? My 6-month-old Ball Python has first rat pump on Tuesday. Still no poo. Yeah, so they can go months and months without going to the bathroom. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have been really concerned. Hey, my Ball Python will go to the bathroom. And let me tell you, it is completely normal, especially if you have a female that's building eggs during the breeding season. They won't go to the bathroom for months sometimes, which is kind of crazy. Just pretty much normal for a Ball Python. How do I do a thumbs up? Yeah, right underneath the video. Well, if you're watching on your phone, I don't know how hard it is, but if you're actually on a laptop, it's real easy. Right underneath, looks like I have 62 thumbs ups and 4 thumbs down. I think those thumbs down are probably a mistake. And keep in mind, if you do a thumbs down by accident, you can always go and change it to a thumbs up over here underneath the video. Let's see. I lost my place. Let's see. How do you know when females are ovulating? That's a good question. So usually when a female ovulates, essentially what you look for is you look for a really big bulge in the bottom of the snake. It kind of looks like they ate a football or something. They get really big, usually on the bottom third of the snake, usually like from here all the way up to like right here. They get really super, almost like 50% bigger and like rock hard right in here. That's when they're ovulating. And a lot of people say you want to keep pairing up your ball python females until they ovulate. And then the ovulation is the process of the egg fertilization. And then it really doesn't help to pair up your snake after the ovulation. All right. All right, let's see. I just started a new YouTube channel for nurses. Do you have any tips for me? I want to bring attention to what we all go through. Yeah, so YouTube. Any tips for YouTube? YouTube is a long game in most cases. You know, when I started out in YouTube, I put out a video. I started putting out videos every single day, and I get like 0 views or 1 view or just a couple views. And I used to be really excited when I got 10 views. And it just takes a long time to build a lot of viewers. And I don't know, it seems like a lot of people say, you know, you really should focus on one specific thing as far as doing YouTube. But I've been doing random videos every now and then. If you have a really interesting random idea for like a video, you can throw one of those in. Sometimes what I'd say, if you're doing a YouTube channel, you really want to stick mainly to one topic for your YouTube channel. Because, so for example, like if I was doing ball pythons for the last, I've been doing YouTube videos every single day for like 3 years about ball pythons. And if I all of a sudden switched my channel over to like camera reviews or something like that, let me tell you, my channel would tank, YouTube wouldn't like it, and my viewers wouldn't like it, and everyone would be confused, and it would kind of throw everything into chaos. So sometimes if you start a YouTube channel, you kind of have to think, all right, I'm just going to do this for the rest of the YouTube channel as far as doing one particular topic as far as the main focus for the channel. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. All right, let's see. DG Reptiles 215. My female is on a hunger strike, if that because she is in heat. Yeah, so why won't a ball python eat? That is the question everybody wants to know. I don't know, sometimes it can be, a lot of females when you're breeding them, they'll stop eating. Sometimes they'll just randomly stop eating. Sometimes they want a different type of a food. Sometimes you can kind of tempt them with like a mouse or like a live mouse or something like that to get them back on food. Sometimes they're just totally unpredictable. Sometimes if you actually have like a tub that hasn't been cleaned in a long time, we have really dirty substrate, especially with the coconut husk. If you leave it in there for like months and months, sometimes the dirty substrate will get them from eating consistently too. Let's see. Andre Ramos, hello, what is going on? Kate and John, would you ever trade a breeder female for a different breeder female if you knew and respected the seller? Maybe, potentially. So for example, if I had like in my collection, I have 4 Lemon Blast female ball pythons, and I wanted to trade it for another one from another person for some genes that I didn't have. Maybe they didn't have pinstripe. Maybe, I don't have Mojave, and we could do a straight trade or something like that. I would probably do a trade female for female, especially in that case where I have like multiples of the same thing. I would probably do something like that. Oh, my nose is itching. Let's see. Justin Lee, you should do some sort of a giveaway contest or a raffle. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do like raffles and giveaways to kind of build their channel and bring in subscribers and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm kind of doing it the old-fashioned way. No, like clickbait, no, no raffles, no incentives for people to actually subscribe. So it's just pure content only as far as coming over here and subscribing. Yeah, the other thing with giveaways are you have to really be careful because if you do any type of gambling on YouTube, it's against the law. So technically, giveaways and raffles, sometimes you could get into trouble. And a lot of times I've actually seen people where they'll do like some kind of a gamble, guess the number and you get the prize or something like that. Technically that's gambling. And in a lot of states and a lot of countries, it's illegal to do that. So that's one of the reasons I pretty much avoided any type of raffle or, a giveaway or something like that. You really don't want to get in trouble as far as gambling on your channel, which could, potentially could get your channel. You can have a strike on your channel, so you have to really be careful with YouTube. They can, you actually have 3 strikes. The first time you get a strike, I don't think you can post a video for like, well, actually the first strike you get a warning. Sometimes if you have like a copyright strike or something like that. The second strike, I've seen people get 2 strikes on YouTube if you do something wrong that crosses the line. With 2 strikes, you can't post a video for 30 days. I've seen people where they get 2 strikes and it's like they just all of a sudden stop posting videos for like a whole month and they got a second strike. And if you get 3 strikes, you do like copyright strikes like 3 times in a row, they'll delete your channel, delete all your content. So you have to really be careful on YouTube. All right, Clint, I have a male champagne. Was thinking about breeding to my female black pastel. When I use the calculator, it looks like what they look like will be a pied. Is that correct? So yeah, so black pastel champagne. So if you actually make that combination, I would say sometimes you'll actually get a ringer on your champagne, especially if you work it in with black pastel. But a lot of times you actually won't get that. So for example, if you actually took champagne and you worked in het pied with 1 copy of the pied, almost all the time you'll get a pied looking champagne. And with the champagne, it can be pretty varied because a lot of times just randomly you'll get ringers on your champagne that won't always be there every time you do it. So in Champagne Black Pesto, I'd say you have a chance of getting a pied-looking snake, but you won't get it in all cases with that combination. All right, let's see. How far? I'm back. Oh, I'm about what, 10, 20, 30. I'm about 30 questions behind. We still have about 50 minutes. 92 people on the stream. That's a lot of questions and a lot of people. Will you ever get a green tree python? No, I won't get a green tree python. Pretty much only sticking to ball pythons right now. Let's see. Kiyomi, what is the maximum number of consecutive years you would breed a female before giving her a year off? So I would actually breed a female every single year until she laid eggs really late in the year. A lot of times, if a female lays eggs really late in the year, a lot of times they don't have enough time to get enough rodents back into that female in order to get up to condition before you can actually breed them again the following year. So if they're eating really well in between seasons where you can get them up to size and breed them, that's kind of the tricky part. I'd say most females, you can't breed them every single year, year after year, for an indefinite amount of time. Once in a while, you'll actually get a female that'll run late, and then you have to give them a year off. Looks like we got another fan. Thank you for becoming another channel member. Awesome. DG Reptiles 215. Welcome to fan. Awesome. Let's see. Luke Townsend Smout. Do you make a profit from breeding? Yes, I do make a profit from breeding my ball pythons. Yeah. I bought a Harley. Yeah. I do make a profit. And you can actually lose money or you can make money with ball pythons depending on what you produce. So if I have a really good year, so for example, I produce a whole bunch of bamboos, which sell really good. And if I produce a lot of pieds and desert ghosts and stuff like that, I can have a really good year or making quite a bit of profit. If I have a year, where I produce a low number of hatchlings and most of them are normals, I'd say there's a potential that I can basically break even breeding ball pythons. So it really depends on how many snakes you get and the genes in those snakes. And sometimes it can be pretty much out of your control. Let's see. Thank you for answering my question. Took your advice and bought an adult females. Nice. Yes. I would definitely buy some adult females, at least one adult female starting out, so you can get some experience with the eggs and the hatchling right out of the chute. Let's see. Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye. See you later, Drew. All right, let's see. Becca, my ball python that was off feed for 4 weeks and was getting super skinny, finally ate. Nice. Yeah, it's always exciting when a fasting ball python will eat. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, a lot of times once they start eating, what I would actually do is I would probably go back the following day and try to feed a second one, especially if it's been fasting a long time. As a matter of fact, what I actually do is I split up my collection into feeding 2 or 3 days back to back. I usually feed on Mondays, and then I'll like thaw half the rodents on Monday, and then I'll thaw the other half on Tuesday. And if any of them that don't eat on Tuesday, I'll actually go back to some of the ones that ate Monday, and almost all the ones that ate the day before will take a second rat. So you can actually offer another rat the next day. I'd say almost all the time they'll take another one. Let's see. Hey, Chris, will you be bringing any female Lucy's to the Pueblo Reptile Show? So no, Lucy actually hasn't laid any eggs yet. So no eggs from Lucy this year. So I'm thinking of actually pairing up my reticulated pythons again here, probably in the middle of October, with all my other ball pythons coming up in the next breeding season. Hopefully next year. She's like 5 years old now. I can't believe she still hasn't laid any eggs, which is kind of crazy. But this is the first year I saw my reticulated pythons copulate, the first time I saw them lock, which is pretty promising. Hopefully next year will be the year. All right, Stormy, tomorrow's my birthday. Maybe I should get another snake. Yes, it's always a good occasion for getting another ball python or another snake. Let's see. Jason Smart, welcome back. Let's see. All right, let's see. Alan Stone, just want to tell you thank you for all of the educational advice on pythons, especially for people such as myself. Sure, yeah. So I try my best to give good information here on YouTube. Some of my older stuff may not be completely accurate. I'm trying to get better and better the further I go into this YouTube journey. All right, Snake Eye says reticulated pythons pee a lot. Yes, I agree. Reticulated pythons seem like they pee every 3 or 4 days, which is kind of crazy. Ace of Nothing. What kind of reptiles or snakes fit in a 10-gallon? Good question. So I actually had some Arizona mountain king snakes, which stay pretty small. They stay about as skinny as the size of a pencil. Really super skinny snake. You could probably do like garter snakes in a 10-gallon, although I think a garter snake might actually eventually outgrow 10-gallon. They can get pretty big. Yes, be patient. I read them in line. So I used to jump around in the questions because I get so far behind, but then I'd skip everyone's questions. And then when I'd skip questions, people would keep repeating the questions over and over and over. And then, yeah, it would get kind of out of control. So now I just pretty much go through just one line at a time. So I'm like, what, 10, 20, maybe 30 questions behind. Not too bad. And then if I actually catch up on all the questions and we run out of questions, then I'm like, all right, now what do we talk about? So it actually works pretty good just to go one by one in line as far as the questions. So if you ask a question, you really don't need to ask it again because I'll definitely get to it sooner or later. We got about 45 minutes left on this live stream. Let's see. How are you doing? I have a question. Would you ever want a green tree python? Nope. No green tree python. I'm trying to stick with all ball pythons here in my collection. If I get another snake, it'll probably be another one that eats rats, like a full-size jumbo adult rat, because I have so many of them, and my reticulated pythons really can't keep up with all the rats that I produce. Let's see. How do I know if my female is pregnant without going to the vets? Good question. So what I do is I just pair up my males with my females, just cycle them through, breed them at least once a month for about 5 months, and then I just hope for the best. And if the female starts going off of food and getting really big and plump and fat at the same time, you know she's definitely developing eggs. And then once they get like where they're like ready to blow, where you actually they look like they're gonna explode, then you're getting close to where they're gonna lay some eggs. That's just the way I do it. It's not really rocket science. Some people look at the follicles. You can use an ultrasound to look at them and measure them, and you can count the days from the pre-lay sheds and the ovulations and all that. But I just kind of go by the size of the females. Let's see. You should get a 20-gallon aquarium if you're just getting one. Yeah, so I'd say most snakes will probably do better in like a 20-gallon. So for glass aquariums, I would probably get a different type of a snake. For me, I actually had ball pythons in glass aquariums, and it seems like they didn't really like them. But I did have a lot of the like the king snakes in glass aquariums, and like if you actually put a lot of driftwood in there with the king snakes, it seems like the king snakes appreciate looking out more than a ball python. They like the glass aquariums as far as what I've seen in my king snakes when I had king snakes. All right, Christopher, buying a pastel female right now to breed to my spider, hoping for some bumblebees. Awesome. Pretty awesome. All right, let's see. How are you doing? I have a question. We already answered that one. What are your thoughts on leopard geckos? I had some leopard geckos for a while, and I switched over to crested geckos because I was tired of crickets. The crickets, they make noise, and then for some reason it seemed like the crickets always got out in my reptile room. And then when I was making videos, I had these cricket noises in the back. I was getting to the point where I was taking my crickets and moving them to another room for the videos and then bringing them back. And then I finally went to crested geckos where you don't need live insects. You mix up a powder and they actually drink it's kind of like a mixed up powder with water that you feed the crested geckos, which I really like. Let's see. How common is the tangerine gene? Tangerine, good question. I can actually look over here on Morphmarket. I'm not real familiar with tangerine. I don't know if that's in ball pythons. I think that's another snake. I don't think I've ever seen a tangerine gene in ball pythons. So that might be another gene, unless it's a new gene that I'm not familiar with. All right, Ball Pythons, Crypto and Cryptids. Hello, everyone just tuning in. We'll rewind and view when I finish. Yes. All right, welcome. Yeah, we have another 40 minutes left on the live stream. 80 people still on the line. 81 thumbs up. Awesome. Oh, Tangerine's leopard gecko. Yes. Yes. I'm not real familiar with leopard geckos. I know enough to take care of a leopard gecko. That's about all. I know there's a lot of genes in leopard geckos too. Yeah, geckos are really cool. All right. Let's see. Mike, any tips on getting a ball python to eat? She's new to us on frozen thawed, ate first week, but skipped the second week. Again, on my second try for week 2. Yeah, so depends on the size. So if it's a really small hatchling and they start refusing food for like several weeks in a row, I would probably go back to like a live mouse to get them to eat. If it's like a juvenile, you can actually, if they can stop eating, you can actually go back to like a frozen thawed mouse and then go back to a rat. And if it's adult, like Bubble here around my neck, and it decides not to eat, I would probably just keep offering once a week. I probably wouldn't go back to mice or anything like that. If they skip multiple weeks in a row, it's really no problem for a really big adult ball python like this. All right, Ryan, have any of your females laid a single egg and waited a day or two to lay the rest of the clutch? How common is that? So, yes, your snake can get egg bound. And the problem that I've seen with egg-bound snakes is potentially if they actually have an egg-bound snake where the eggs are in there for months and months, it could be life-threatening for the female. And I have seen here in my collection where I've had a couple egg-bound snakes where they'll lay like a few eggs, and then like the next day or a couple days later, they'll actually lay the rest of the eggs. But the problem is it seems like every single time the eggs that are laid late after that very first day, in my experience, not a single one of those eggs will actually hatch if they're egg bound, even for 24 hours. So I don't know if you can actually work on those eggs or try something else, but in my experience, if you have an egg bound snake, even for one day, all the snakes that are held up in there won't actually hatch, which is kind of a bummer. Let's see. DG Reptiles 215, do you have any visual desert ghost female that's breeding? Yes. So I do have a female pastel spider desert ghost. And I have a male that is a pastel Anchi desert ghost. Breeding those two together. Hopefully I'll actually get some eggs this year. Jason Smart, nice pinstripe. Yeah, this is Bubble, my female pinstripe. And she's actually still eating. She actually ate the second week of April, which is this week. Last week, yeah. So I don't think she's. This is like one of my only females that I don't think is going to eat because she's still on food. Ate a rodent last week, unfortunately. So even though I'm breeding her this year, she actually laid a really big clutch of eggs last year. All right, RZ Fitness TV. I purchased a banana pastel today because he was cute at an expo. Awesome. All right, PNW Anglers. Do you like the spider ball pythons? So personally, I think the spider, kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of people are really against breeding spiders, and some people do breed the spider. So I dabble a little bit. I have one spider combination here in my collection. It's actually in my Desert Ghost female, that spider. So the thing about spider is you want to be careful not to breed a spider to a spider, because 25% of the time it's a lethal combination with a super spider. And I've actually seen some people having some bad luck with some neurological issues producing spiders with the head wobble or stuff like that. I've never really had any head wobble here in my collection with any of my spiders. So I've been pretty fortunate here with my spiders. I've actually seen people where they'll breed a spider to something else, and all the spider offspring will have real severe head wobbles or neurological issues. And I'd say in that case, you probably don't want to breed that spider again. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right, I'm thinking about getting a snake. What kind of bedding do you think is best for ball pythons? So I've actually went pretty much 100% with the Pro Coco coconut husk chip. I've used Repta chip before, which works pretty good. I think Freedom Breeder also carries like a coconut husk chip too. So that's what I actually prefer, the coconut husk chip. I've actually seen other coconut husk products. I think if you get too small and too fine, like an Eco Earth or something like that, I think it can get a little bit too messy as far as that. But with a coconut husk, it really absorbs a lot of the smells that you get with a snake going to the bathroom in there. It's a lot easier to spot clean too. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Where are we at? All right, let's see. I've trained almost all my ball pythons to convert from live using the chicken broth method. I've never used chicken broth. That's kind of interesting. I'll have to look into the chicken broth method. Jason Smart, do you have any tips about keeping the humidity up? So I actually recently just installed it's like a portable swamp cooler here in my reptile room, and I hook it up to a humidity controller, and that controls my ambient humidity in here. I dial it into about 52%. And let me tell you, that is a lifesaver. I've had pretty much perfect sheds. It's like the sheds like are almost perfect. It's like every now and then I have to just peel a little bit of shed off of a snake. But I'd say other than that, it's pretty much perfect as far as all the sheds here in my reptile room. And before that, I had so many stuck sheds. I was like banging my head against the wall. As a matter of fact, you can actually look in some of my previous videos, and there's one that is just specific for my humidifier here in my reptile room. Let me tell you, that is probably the best thing I've added here in the last year. All right, Dan Murphy. If you only had ability to have a limited collection, how many females would you keep for each male? So yeah, so I don't know. So I would say right now I actually have 4 females per male as far as the maximum. See, the problem is if you actually take your male, you put it with your female, and you keep it in there for 3 days, you move to another female for 3 days, that's like 6 days right there. And then what I do is I give them like a week or a week and a half off to feed them and to let them digest. And then I move that male over with 2 other females. And by the time you cycle it that way through 2 females, give them a break, 2 females, give them a break, it pretty much takes the whole month, and you're only breeding each female once a month as far as pairing up the male and the female. So I would say probably ideally, I would actually, if I was, had a smaller collection, I would probably take 1 male and breed it to 2 females and kind of work through the same cycle, only breeding each female twice a month instead of once a month. You probably have good luck, maybe even better luck doing it that way. All right, Tony, can you tell us something about a banana Mojave pinstripe? I'm from the Netherlands. Love the show. Nice. So yeah, banana Mojave pinstripe. Yeah, so the pinstripe is like the snake that I have around my neck here. Pretty much a really bright gold snake. Holds its bright gold color as it ages and matures. One of my favorite genes. And then the banana, you have to keep in mind with the banana, all the males will be either male makers or female makers. Kind of a weird thing with the male bananas. So if you actually had a male maker banana and it was a male, you bred it to something else, all the banana offspring would all be males, which is kind of the frustrating part of the banana. So if you actually buy a banana, I would definitely make sure if you're buying a male, figure out or ask the breeder if it's a male maker or a female maker. Because if you get one or the other, so for example, if you actually have, it can be kind of, as a matter of fact, it can be more frustrating, I think, the other way around. If you had a female maker banana, you bred it to something else, all the offspring would be females, meaning that all of your bananas, you'd have to wait like 3 years, 2 to 3 years before those would be ready to breed. So sometimes a female maker can really slow you down, which is kind of crazy. And then, of course, the Mojave is in the blue leucistic complex. You could actually breed it with like the lesser or the bamboo and make some white snakes, which is pretty awesome. Looks like we had another super chat. All right, James, thank you. James asks the super chat question: do you have any biters, defensive snakes, and how do you deal with them? I have one that is on a mission to tag me. Yeah. So out of all my snakes and all my ball pythons, I've only ever had one ball python that I could not calm down. I don't know what was the deal with that snake, but that thing would always take a bite at me for some reason. It was just crazy. And I've had really super mean snakes here in my collection. And it seemed like every single mean snake that I've had, I've always have been able to tame that snake down with time. If you actually handle them quite a bit, really gentle, and sometimes you just have to take a lot of bites trying to handle one of those snakes and trying to tame them down. But I'd say 99% of the time, you can tame down a really mean snake with a lot of really gentle handling and a lot of time. But I've actually had one that for whatever reason, I could not tame that thing down. All right, let's see. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Reed, when do I size up my hognose food? Mine's almost a year. So when it comes to hognose, I don't know anything about hognose at all. I know the hognose can play dead when they're scared, and I know the hognose is rear fang venomous. And I know there's a certain number of hognose morphs that can be pretty expensive. But other than that, I don't really know anything about hognoses at all. I know they don't get very big. They're a snake you can keep in a smaller size enclosure. All right, Sarah Wawa. Are there morphs like the pied that are notoriously picky about live? Or if it's a mouse or soft-furred rat? Yeah, so are there morphs that have good appetites? So yes, I think there are. I think the appetite does depend on the morph. So pretty much across the board, I've actually asked a lot of people about this. Some people said that they don't have any problems with their pieds, but I've known a lot of people that say pieds are really picky when it comes to eating, and a lot of pieds really prefer live, which is kind of crazy. Really picky as far as the pieds that I've had here in my collection. Sometimes it's hard to get them to eat. Seems like the bamboos are really aggressive eaters. They eat better than pretty much any other snake here in my collection, which is kind of wild. I've actually seen a lot of people that produce clown hatchlings. They say clown hatchlings are really aggressive eaters in a lot of cases. So I think the genes in the ball python can have an effect on if the snake is a picky feeder or not, which is pretty interesting. Rick Rodriguez, hey from Puerto Rico, what is going on? I can't believe we still have 89 people live, which is kind of crazy. 73 thumbs up. All right. Let's see. Can you have ball pythons in Puerto Rico? Good question for Rick. I'm not sure if you can have ball pythons. I know a lot of those tropical places, they kind of frown on ball pythons because if they get out into the wild, they can reproduce. Like in Hawaii, you can't have any ball pythons over there. Trapier 1, what's going on? Let's see. Snakes Gaming, how rare is the peach gene? I have not heard of the peach gene. But it is over on Morphmarket. I'm going to look over here on Morphmarket, the peach gene. Let's see. There are 2 peaches that have sold on the United States Morphmarket, and none in South Africa, none in Europe. I'd say the peach is pretty rare. Not very rare. And a lot of times when I do morph reviews, I need at least more than 2 examples of a gene to figure out what a gene is doing when you mix it with combinations. So a lot of times you get these kind of obscure genes that aren't over on Morphmarket. So it's hard to find enough information to do a morph review on those. Tangerine, yes, it's a leopard gecko morph. Yes. All right. Swackums Jr., how hard would it be to make $1 million breeding reptiles? So I would say it's not that hard to make $1 million if you start with $1 million. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you could probably start with like $250,000 and invest it all in ball pythons. You could probably make $1 million pretty easy. But it's a lot of people ask, how hard is it to make $1 million in business? It's really super easy to make. I can make $1 million a week in business if I'm actually losing $1.1 million a week. If you're going in the hole, a lot of people say, how hard is it to make that? But they're kind of on the flip side, how hard is it to make $1 million in profit breeding ball pythons? Maybe a little bit more difficult as far as doing that. And you'd have to start with like some really high-end genes and high-end morphs or a lot of snakes to actually do that. So it'd take either a really huge investment up front, or it would take a lot of time to build your collection to that point where you can make a lot of money. Can you do a video on the peach? Yeah, so not enough information on the peach to actually do a video on that. Unless there's, a lot of times I'll do these morph reviews and I'll be like the only person on YouTube doing a morph review on this obscure gene that's like over in the UK or something. And sometimes it's hard because there's no other videos, no other information. And I'm like, hopefully what I'm actually saying in this video is correct. And a lot of times it's just like stimulates conversation as far as, hey, there's actually this gene over there. Let's go over there and look and see if, what this video is about as far as describing the gene is accurate. And sometimes, a lot of times, people will like come up with a brand new gene. They'll think it does a certain thing. And then later on, once they work with the gene a little bit more, they'll find out, hey, this is actually a dark gene or something that they really didn't expect after they start breeding it into other combinations. Hamza, do you think there's a new python species yet to be discovered? Yeah, so it always seems like there's new stuff being discovered, especially if you go in like the rainforests or like really dangerous areas where there's like hippopotamus that like eat people or something like that. You go over there and it seems like, you're always discovering new species because there's so much area, it's unpopulated, and it's really densely covered. It seems like a lot of different places, they're always discovering new species. Let's see. Ralph Davis produced the tangerine. I have a pastel tangerine. Interesting. Mick the Knife, what's up, man? How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. We have 20 minutes left. We've been going for 2 hours, 39 minutes, 88 people still on. That's pretty awesome. Usually we don't have that many people on. Usually it's down like in the 60s at this point, which is pretty awesome. Jinx, can you take us on a tour of the house? Yeah, if I took you on a tour of the house, my wife would want to know in advance, and she would probably want to clean for a whole week straight before we did a tour of the house. I don't think that's going to happen on this live stream. Hellamad says, how do you feel about the video Nerd put out about the overly sensational channels like Catch 'em All Fishing? So I haven't seen that video from Nerd, and I haven't seen that channel Catch 'em All Fishing. So yeah, so some people are overly sensational when it comes to YouTube, and some people are like shock value only, and there's a whole bunch of different tricks people use as far as getting more viewers over here on YouTube. And I'm pretty much doing like the slow and steady. I don't really have any tricks or any kind of, like gambling or raffles or giveaways or shocking content or anything like that. Pretty much doing the slow and steady content over here on my channel. But yeah, a lot of people try a whole bunch of really crazy stuff on YouTube to increase their subscribers and their views. So I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. DG Reptiles 215, can you put my name on one of the Desert Ghost female babies, please? Yeah, I actually don't think I'm not 100% sure that my female Desert Ghost is actually going to lay this year. She's looking pretty thin, even though I've been breeding her. So yeah, I really don't like to put people's names on a lot of the hatchlings. The eggs haven't even been laid yet. A lot of times you never know what you're going to get from your breeding. High class pythons, what's up? Are you going to have any straight calico females this year? I might have some straight calicos. Maybe. I'm actually breeding my bamboo calico, possible desert ghost through my collection. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to get from that pairing. Looks like Bubbles kind of waking up for the end of the live stream here. All right, let's see. My pieds are picky. My black pastel, my mahogany female has never missed a meal. So that's kind of interesting. I've actually heard that the dark genes are a little bit more feisty. They tend to bite a little bit more than the other ones. And I would think, some of your more feisty genes would actually be better feeders. So that's kind of interesting that you're actually kind of seeing the same thing with the black pastel and the mahogany being better eaters, which is pretty awesome. All right, Julian, I don't have a snake, but I have a long-toed salamander I'm trying to set up. Interesting, huh? So actually up here in the mountains of Colorado, pretty much the only thing I've ever seen as far as a reptile up here, we do have the spotted salamanders, the completely black ones with the yellow spots on them. I actually saw one of them just randomly crawling through the woods up here in the mountains at 9,000 feet elevation, which is kind of crazy. You wouldn't think a salamander would be way up here in the middle of nowhere. Let's see. The Ball Python is the only snake accepted by law in Puerto Rico. Wow, that's pretty wild. All right, Joshua Hardman. I'm starting a breeding course with ball pythons. My first female is a banana. Next, I was doing pastel and orange. Then I was going to get a male black pastel. Any ideas or suggestions? Yeah, so sounds like a plan. Yeah, there's a lot of different genes and a lot of things you can cover doing something like that. Let's see. Is the tangerine and the orange dream the same? Good question. So a lot of times when I see new genes, I'm not exactly sure. So someone's talking about tangerine might be a ball python gene. New genes, you never know if one could be the same as another. For example, like the banana and the coral glow, they came out pretty much the same time. They came up with two different names, and most people will agree they are the same gene, the banana and the coral glow. So that is kind of the risk of a new gene. You never know if it's the same as something else. But I'm not sure about the tangerine on that one. Yes, you can own ball pythons in Puerto Rico. Awesome. OSMR, go 12 hours. Yeah, I went 12. I did 3 12-hour live streams in a row until I lost my voice, and I'll probably never do another 12-hour live stream again. 3 hours is pretty much the limit for my voice. I don't want to lose my voice. All right, we got 15 minutes on the live stream for 3 hours. All right. All right, where I'm from, ball pythons are illegal, but I still keep them anyway. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, so yeah, I know there's, as a matter of fact, I actually did a video on where ball pythons are illegal. There's quite a few places where you can't have them. There's several places in New York where you can't have ball pythons, which is kind of crazy. All right, Bubble, what is going on? I don't know what the snake is doing. All right, let's see. Squams Jr., what would you consider a minimum investment to get into ball pythons? Yeah, so if you're breeding ball pythons, you need pretty much a male and a female. I'd say you could probably get like a normal female would be the cheapest, or even like a single gene. You could probably pick up for a few $100s if you got like an adult ready to breed female. And then a male, it really depends on which genes you're going for. I would say, actually, as a matter of fact, you could probably I'd say you could probably get a decent male and a female, maybe for like $500 or $600 if you're thinking about just a couple snakes. And then what I would do is I would probably go with like an ARS 70 series, like a single stack. You can buy like individual levels at a time. So you could probably, I'd say, with like $1,000, you could probably have a pretty good setup with the enclosures and the snakes and the thermostats and everything as far as getting into ball pythons. So you could probably find some deals too. If you found someone getting out of ball pythons and you were getting into them, you can do that too. CLF Reptiles, what is up? Let's see. How much pressure does it take for a snake wrapped around your neck to cause you to pass out? Just wondering, because I know they're strong. They might unconsciously harm people. So I'm not sure a ball python could really choke you out to where you pass out, because you start running out of air, and I'd say most people have enough strength to unwrap the ball python from around your neck. As a matter of fact, when I first started with Bobby would choke me out in every single video when I had him around my neck. He was like just kind of going ballistic and choking me and really super flighty. And it took me several months before he wouldn't choke me anymore. But he never got to the point where I thought I was going to pass out from Bobby choking me out. Let's see. Angie. Hey, Chris, have you tried feeding the Missouri rat food to chicks? No, I haven't tried feeding the Missouri rat food to chicks. So So when it comes to baby chickens, you have to kind of be careful. I used to breed chickens, hatch out the eggs and everything. It seems like the baby chicks can be really susceptible to like infections, especially in the first week or two. I got to the point where I was losing a lot of chicks, and I pretty much use antibiotic in the water, antibiotic medicated food for pretty much through the first couple of weeks with the chicks. I probably wouldn't risk trying the Missouri rat food unless they're a little bit older for doing something like that. High class pythons, Jeeves is locking like a beast. I'm going to try and prove he's got that desert ghost. Nice. Awesome. Jeeves is one of the snakes that I sold as a hatchling. All right, Angie, the powder left behind on the bottom of the bag. So yeah, so the powder in the bottom of my Missouri rodent food, I actually feed it to my dubia roaches. My dubia roaches, that's all they get, and they multiply like crazy off that stuff. As a matter of fact, when I run out of that powder, I grind up some more of the blocks to make more for my dubia roaches, which is kind of crazy. All right, Caleb, what do you think is the best beginner ball python morph that isn't too costly? Depends on what your definition of not too costly is. That could be a couple $100, that could be several hundred. I'd probably start with like the pinstripe or the pastel, the lesser, the Mojave, the GHI, stuff like that. Pretty common genes that you can see. They're co-dominant. You can breed them into something else, and you can see the results right away. Mark Hull. Hey, Chris, I wonder, I have 13 snakes in my collection now. My oldest female, my oldest male. Seem like they're wanting to do their thing. Is it okay to pair this late in the season? So if you pair now, you'd probably be opposite of everybody else in the ball python breeding season. You can pretty much breed any time of the year. But if you want to be kind of on par with like me and all the other breeders, I say most breeders will start pairing in like mid-October. Usually October, November is the time when most people start pairing up their ball pythons. Let's see. You put out the best. Thanks for your content. You are crucial to the reptile community. Thank you. It's awesome. All right, Rick Rodriguez. I have a banana Enchi fire male and a banana female. And the father of my male is a female maker. I will have more females. What do you think? So, yeah, the whole male maker, female maker. See, if you have a banana Enchi fire male and a banana female, the father of the male is a female maker. As far as what I understand, if you actually take a male banana, you breed it to a female banana, all your males will actually be female makers because the eggs are coming from the female, as far as my understanding of the male maker and the female maker. You'll actually get super bananas out of that mix too. Are there other genes like the banana that have male maker or female makers? It's only in the bananas and the coral glows. A lot of people think that the coral glow is pretty much the same gene as the banana. Can you tell us something about the genetic stripe? So the genetic stripe is a recessive mutation that has a really strong stripe right down the top of the snake. And it's kind of interesting. It seemed like the genetic stripes used to be a lot more popular. As a matter of fact, like 6 years ago, it seemed like they were a lot more popular and a lot more expensive, then kind of fell out of popularity. But I have seen in just the last year or two, a lot of breeders are kind of working a lot more with the genetic stripe, producing a lot of really awesome combinations. I think it's making a comeback as far as a popular recessive mutation. Pat says, has your bamboo ever tried to bite my face? No, He has never tried to bite me ever, never hissed at me, was never aggressive or anything like that. And this snake right here, this is Bubble. I think this snake might be even tamer than Bobby. This one's never tried to bite me either, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. Hamza, the World of Ball Pythons group on Facebook is full of trolls and bullies. Yes. Yes, there are a lot of trolls and bullies on Facebook, which is kind of interesting. A lot of them hang out on Facebook. A lot of people really dog on Facebook. The thing about Facebook is there's really no control as far as I don't know if you can really ban people over there or not. It's kind of like a free-for-all. So, for example, like on my YouTube channel, I can actually set up keywords where if someone makes a comment with a keyword, it goes into like a holding place where I can go in and review all the comments before I release them on the video. I don't think you have that much control over on Facebook. All right, Bob Zapp. It's my first time breeding pastel female to lesser Mojave pinstripe. Awesome. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so you'll get the lesser Mojave, you'll get half lessers and half Mojaves. You won't get any normals. You'll also get lemon blasts with the pastel pinstripe worked into either the lesser or the Mojave. That's a pretty good combination. Aaron says there isn't a season. Yeah, technically there's not a season for ball pythons. They can lay eggs any time of the year. But kind of the interesting thing with ball pythons is I'd say most breeders do have a set season as far as, so if you actually go to the reptile shows in the fall, most ball python breeders will have most of their hatchlings available in the fall. That's where you'll actually find a lot of the hatchlings. And then if you go to the reptile shows in the spring, I'd say most of the times you'll have like leftover hatchlings that are like juveniles that haven't sold from the year before. You won't find a lot of hatchlings in the spring at the reptile shows. So a lot of people kind of make their own season with ball pythons. How long did it take you to see a return on investment? So yeah, so when I first started, the first couple years, I made zilch. I was waiting for all my females. And then I actually found this guy. I was tired of sinking all the money into the ball pythons with no return. And I decided I wanted to invest in a collection of females. And I found one, someone had one available, and that was my first really big year when I bought all those females and produced a whole bunch of hatchlings. I had a really good year after I bought all those females. And ever since then, I've had really good years every single year mainly from all those older females that I bought that year. If you breed a female that is the right age but not the right weight, would it produce smaller offspring? So yeah, so if you're breeding a female ball python, you really need that female to be at least 1,500 grams, mainly because it has to be big enough to pass the eggs out of the body. And it seems like even with the younger, smaller ball python females, the eggs are pretty much always the same size. Sometimes on the bigger ones, you can get bigger eggs. But I'd say one of the risks of breeding a ball python that's too small is potentially you could get a female that can't push those eggs completely out of the body. So you'll get like an egg-bound female that can't pass them out, which could be potentially life-threatening for that female. So I would recommend not breeding any female that's, most people say 1,500. I bred as early as 1,450 grams, which is like right on the edge, and she laid eggs. So that was pretty much the closest I've ever been to 1,500. Tony says, thank you. Yes, thank you. Pat, let's see. Would you say ball pythons are tame or just naturally docile? So that's kind of the double-edged sword with ball pythons. They're probably the only snake that's the snake that's the least likely to bite And the kind of on the flip side, the snake that's probably the least likely to feed on rodents. So a lot of times they won't eat, but they won't bite. So, I'd say they're probably just naturally docile compared to all the other snakes. And probably the easiest ones to tame down too, I would say. Let's see. Was just watching a stream about the cryo packs. Apparently they can burst and cause serious burns. Wow. Cryo packs. I've never used one, and I didn't know that about cryo packs, which is kind of crazy. All right, Cal Franklin. I have a female Enchi. I'll pair with my friend's male banana or his normal. What will I possibly get? So if you breed an Enchi with a banana, you will get more Enchis, you'll get more bananas, you'll get banana Enchis, and you'll get normals from those. And if you breed an Enchi to a normal, you'll get half normals and half Enchis from that combination. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's see. How often should I handle her out of her enclosure? There's a lot of debate on how often and how long you should hold ball python. Some people say you shouldn't overhandle your ball python. For me, it seems like if I'm handling Bobby, maybe about an hour, hour and a half is pretty much the maximum. And he starts kind of getting squirrely, wants to kind of leave and get off my shoulders. I don't know if this is really super comfortable for Ball Python. Maybe if you put them on your lap, they'd be more comfortable than being on your shoulder. I'm not sure. But, I'm actually, for Bobby, I handle him every single day, day after day, pretty much for the last 3 years in front of the camera, about an hour a day. And he seems like he's better for all the handling. He's really super tame. Although a lot of people say that's overhandling, but I don't really see where it's a problem with something like that. We are at 3 hours. All right, 3 hours. We'll go just a couple more minutes. Rocky Man says, thanks for all the information. No problem. Fight to be fit. So you had 2 male pinstripe and 1 female pinstripe. Can you put 1 male with the female and then next month put the female with the other male? Yeah, you can put multiple males with the same female. You could do that. But I would say in most cases it's not really necessary unless one of your males was like a really young male that wasn't really quite of age. I don't think you'd really have to do that as far as using 2 males to 1 female. I'd say what most people will do is I'll take 2 males with completely different genes and breed it to the female, kind of rotate them through. And then you might get a mix of eggs with the different genes from the different males. I've seen people do that, which is pretty interesting. Sink the Frog says, do you ever trade hatchlings with other breeders to expand the genes in your collection? No, I really don't do any type of a trade. So what I'll actually do is I'll take something, breed it to something else, get a multi-gene combination, and save the multi-gene and then sell the individual genes and kind of keep increasing the variety in a lot of my hatchlings that way. Yeah, I'd rather not trade. I don't really know anyone local that breeds ball pythons, so it'd be kind of hard to trade. I'm kind of nervous about bringing new stuff into my collection. And most of the new stuff I bring in has a new gene. Usually it's a pretty high-end gene too. Like I'm thinking about getting like a Confusion or something like that is my next snake. So it'd be hard to figure out what I would trade for that. I'd probably have to trade like multiple snakes, which I'd rather just like pay cash for something like that. What's the largest ball python you own, length and width? About 6 feet long in the length. The weight, my biggest one is about 5,500 grams, my biggest female. What do you think about the monsoon? Pretty awesome. I definitely like to get into monsoon. Maybe if the price comes down, it's a pretty awesome project. All right, so that's it. We're at 3 hours, 3 minutes, 8 seconds. Still have 73 people on the line, which is kind of crazy. 85 thumbs up. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here at the 3-hour mark. So thanks for coming along, hanging out on the live stream on the Sunday afternoon. Yes, I am alive from my COVID vaccination. Got one shot of my Pfizer shot just yesterday. Doing pretty good, feeling pretty good from the shot. I'll get another shot in 3 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm actually doing the reptile show in Pueblo, Colorado. Hope to see you there. That'll be pretty awesome. I actually did a video on that. You'll actually see the thumbnail with my motorcycle. We're going to do the reptile show. We're going to go play some pool. And then the next day, we're going to go on a motorcycle ride in Fountain, Colorado with my Harley Davidson, which would be pretty awesome. If you have a bike, you can join us for that, or play some pool, or see you at the reptile show. It'll be a pretty awesome weekend here in about 5 weeks, which should be pretty awesome. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to call it quits. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the channel memberships and the super chats. And I will see you in the next video.